side. Gen.G, Coach Kim said, we look for tier in our drafts more than counter picks. I don't think they got counter picks here, and they didn't really get too much tier outside of the Rise and the Nico.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Wolf. I think Hanwha Esports definitely a more solid identity. It feels like Gen.G somewhat got lost along the way. They definitely still have very strong tier picks, but even our desk was talking about counter pick and how strong it can be. Wanted really nailing that point home about how red side is very strong right now, but they banned the Mbessa. The Sion was a little bit face up, and they're like, well, Aurora's still up. We can just pick that and have an awesome lane into Sion and be totally fine. So for me, I do agree. I think Hanwha got the edge in this one.
I do think that Gen.G have shown us that they're the only team that's consistently been able to pull off 2 carry compositions, right? And that for me is kind of the X factor here. What is the laning phase going to look like, both for mid and jungle specifically? Eventually, Keen will be fine, right? Early levels against Aurora are going to be hard, but once you finish your first item, I do think you're okay in that lane. Can't wait to see.
Well, we got it going right here, guys. Game number 1 starts right now.
하나 생명, 하나, 둘, 셋. 젠지, 하나, 둘, 셋.
The stage is set, and we are ready for this best of 5 to decide who will be the champions of the LCK for this entire year. It all comes down to this after the format change. It's 1 grand finals at the end of the year. Will Hanwha get the back-to-back from last year's summer, or will Gen.G look to shut down that streak?
Our 2 international title defenders as well, with Gen.G being able to win MSI and then Hanwha being the first stand champions.
Yeah, and LCK before that, the LCK Cup, that is, and of course last year's LCK. We had Hanwha start off the year with a big, continuation of the form we saw from them at the end of 2024, but there was a bit of a dip and it became Gen.G dominance through the middle, and yet Hanwha coming as the stronger seed here in the grand final. So it feels like we have a lot of balance here amongst these 2 squads who, as is already previously mentioned, have a lot of shared history amongst players as well. So, people I think forget the Hanwha Esports Chovy days, but it wasn't that long ago. This guy was representing Korea on a lower seed LCK team alongside Morgan.
I still can't believe that lineup is real, and the fact they made quarterfinals at Worlds.
Yeah.
Very silly.
Well, they did have Chovy on the team, and he's here on this team, and I think his role as the Rise in this draft, it was the first pick on red side to handle the Orianna and to be a farming menace and to just control the side lanes. I think a lot of the onus in this game will come down to Chovy as one of the 2 carries of the composition of Gen.G.
The one advantage that I do think is there early for Gen.G is that outside of the Poppy, I think their single target lockdown with Vi, Rise, and Nico specifically is really lethal. I'm also going to be looking closely. As I say that, look at that, already in the bot lane. Peanut is waiting, just clear the spot side jungle. This should come as no surprise. He's been very consistent with this, but I think that Gen.G have a suspicion.
The flash comes in, Duro is in a bit of trouble. He is going to get away, but now the follow-up from Peanut is right there. And Duro, with the red buff ticking, they'll give this kill right over to Viper, and immediately Hanwha Esports are on the board.
This is what Peanut does best. He sees a lane that has prio, and he heads straight there in his early pathing. Heads down here to the bottom lane, knows the pushing Nico is there, and even though there's a ward there for Gen.G, they're unable to react quickly enough. A little bit of greed with that strong push in the bottom lane is punished heavily by Peanut. Now, they did have to commit summoners in order to get this done, but they got both of Duros as well as the kill.
And now we got Hex Flash maybe in the mid lane. Peanut setting up for this one. Chovy probably gonna have to flash, doesn't even do it! Accepts his fate, and Zeka picks up a kill. Both the carries already online for Hanwha.
And in the trash talk video, Kenyon said, that's fine, Peanut, you can do whatever you want, I'll finish your jungle. He can't! Peanut just gonna finish his entire top side. He's gonna clear without a care in the world. And already Hanwha popping off, and I was talking about the expectation for Gen.G. This is a 2 carry composition. You need your AD carry and your mid laner to do well. They've both been killed already.
You can see Peanut's stats on the Poppy, but it doesn't tell the full story of how much experience he has on this pick. It is an iconic Peanut pick over the years. Has the flash here to catch Duro. Post flash and he gives the kill over to Viper, and then the immediate follow-up in mid with the Hex Flash. He catches Chovy off guard here as well, and secondly, not taking the kill, giving it right over, hand-feeding it to Zeka. So as you mentioned, both of these carries already accelerated here pre-4 minutes in the beginning of this series.
But you should have known. Well, it's being the puppy. He did this on Gen.G for the entirety of 2023.
But why does it feel like every time he plays Poppy, the opponents just don't seem to get a read? It's like, oh, well, yeah, he's playing Poppy. We don't know where he's going to come in. We don't know where he's going to gank. It's like he's invisible.
It's an additional passive. It's just, we forget about Peanut Poppy. He appears on the Rift, never seen it before.
We didn't forget.
we knew about it in the draft, yeah.
And the thing is, he does this so consistently, but it's both the lanes that had the pressure point, right, where Gen.G were pushing a little bit too far, and he's just like, no, you can't be there. And now we have the teleport here for Zeus, who's also winning his lane. He doesn't need help. He gets back up here to the top side to continue that advantage. Canyon is going to try to start this Dragon up here. Does not have the backup of Chovy, but it looks like with the control that Nico provides in this bottom lane, he will get away with it.
Interestingly enough, the stats we just had on your screen was that Rel is on a 5-game winning streak, whereas Nico's on a 5-game losing streak. So in playoffs, that's kind of been the way it has been rolling for both of those supports. Doesn't necessarily mean that it'll continue, but either the streak continues or it gets broken right here for both of those support picks.
We also have Team just struggling against Zeus, which again is to be expected. That's just a given in this matchup. Again, I think that once you finish your first item, you're in a much better spot. Once you get Hollow Radiance, I don't think Keen is really going to be too bothered, and when you have enough stacks on the W. But that means that basically right now there's 3 losing lanes for Gen.G, and that's where we've really seen them struggle, when they're still trying to make those classic Gen.G plays, play aggressively for objectives. And I think that they're still in a position now where we could see them go for the trades, where we could see them go for the cross map. But a couple more kills go in the way of Hanwha, and this composition is just going to get stat checked really hard.
I mean, look at how much is already going to be lost here for Keen. He does not commit his ultimate, at least not initially here, to get back to that bottom lane. He is going to use it now, but still a lot of farm lost here in a lane where he's already 15 CS behind. I think the idea with this Scion pick, we know it's not going to beat the Aurora. Obviously, you need to go Grasp here. You're not going to get that many stacks, but you know, a lot of melees will actually go Electrocute to counter like Ambessa does in this matchup, but you can't do that as Scion. And he's like, well, I'm going to have 2 winning lanes, so I can just be the rock here in the top lane. But Peanut said, you're not having 2 winning lanes because I visited both of them and took that advantage away. And so the Scion is not functioning in the draft as it was supposed to here for Gen.G in this early game.
Yeah, no, we didn't have any Viper swap in this game, so the 2 bottom lanes are just going to end up in the top lane at this point in time, just joining each other. Gen.G did end up with the first Drake. They got that first Hextech Drake on the board. And so that is one thing they've got for themselves, but still a pretty big deficit early on.
The 6 spikes for Gen.G are really strong, right? Vi in particular, but even Chovy being able to make a quick roam. So I imagine Gen.G is going to be looking, even though right now their position isn't great, to try and get a numbers advantage, use the crazy amount of CC and single target burst that they have available to kind of play from there. There's also the fact that we have seen mid lane has actually been equalized decently because Chovy has been Chovying, so even with the kill, gold lead has shrunk a little bit. We'll see whether Zeka can utilize that. Chovy was also looking for a play on top earlier, but Hanwha Life did respect that very nicely.
Ooh, Peanut.
Yeah, he's not going to see this on time, I don't think, as he's clearing out a ward. And actually, Canyon decides to just back off of the play. I mean, Zeka is Orianna, but he's got Flash, and with the jungler right there, they don't want to commit to it, so...
You think the composition for Hanwha Life is so reliant on setup here? It's going to be difficult for them to actually gain access to these grubs here. Chovy does not have prio in mid for the moment, although that will change in just a second here. But if Gen.G gets set up with those strong level 6s that you mentioned, Chronicler, it's tough for Hanwha Life, but instead, looking for a bit of a wraparound here on the Vi, setting a trap for Peanut.
Yeah, I mean, they should know that he has started this one up, as now Chovy going to be spotted. They just go on a delight here as the follow-up just not there. And now in comes Hanwha Life Esports, just going to knock away the one guy, the support. And now the follow-up here on a Canyon, who is in a lot of trouble. Does get that shield up, though, and a bit of health on the follow-up. The damage not quite there, and finally they get it, but Zeka is going to immediately bite the dust. Viper also on the run as Chovy looking for more. Needs a Q, needs something, and they finally do get him down. Chovy collects the kill, and Gen.G do strike back.
just like that, Gen.G back on the board here. A big win in the fight after the initial setup looked pretty good for Hanwha Life when the engage was on to Delight. They get the chase down kill there, pick up a ton of much needed gold.
And I do love that it ended with Duro just stealing away the crab. As we take another look, they don't want to invest too much, as might have a steal imminent here, but because of the Nico being knocked away at first, it looks a little bit rough here for Gen.G. Canyon's able to stall us. They're still going.
Yeah, we got a fight in here. It looks like Canyon wanted to fight for the grubs, but he's by himself against 4 people. Says, I can take the 1v1, but not the 1v4. And eventually, we see that he gets 1 grub, but he loses his life. That's not worth it.
There's just no support for him here, even though Chovy had TP on the back, doesn't commit it. He's walking back to lane here, and just gets kind of unceremoniously collapsed on there and taken out. Fairly greedy play from him, but he thought he had the space. He thought he was safe. Instead, it's another kill going over to Viper here on the cleanup.
My guess is that he made a misread on the timing of the roams here, because going in on this and just stealing the grub would have been fine, but it must have been a miscommunication. Maybe they thought that the light was going to try and catch the wave.
He's interrupted on the charged Q.
Yeah, but let's be real. You know Poppy is going to try and block you. You should see the collapse coming. So to me, that must be a miscommunication, because obviously big mistake by Canyon, but it also doesn't really make sense for him to go in there and try and fight when it's very clear that he is getting collapsed on.
And Chovy, was backing at the start of that, and like he had teleport, but obviously the timing wasn't going to work out for him to join. So I agree with you. Definitely feels like a bit of a miscommunication, as you said.
It's a big mistake though, because now the gold lead is growing again, which Hanwha is going to be very happy about.
Yeah, all of a sudden, just a bit of a weird play from Canyon ends up making it Hanwha Life Esports' game to control at this point in time.
Grubs are super valuable when you have a strong side lane threat like the Aurora as well, so this can be a huge issue for Gen.G later on.
I guess they did get 2. I mean, I'm not going to call worth, but...
yeah, Hanwha Life Esports did pick up 2, so at the end of the day...
Oh yeah, my bad. I'm looking at the roses.
It's all good.
Pranked.
Yeah, the roses are very pretty. Easily distractable as Chronicler as well.
It's also because it's 2 to 1 on the other one.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Chronicler.
Come on.
It's game 1.
Be nice to me. Be nice to me. I'm like, Dura, I gotta
what, is
warm
today
up.
like kind of a special day for some reason?
No.
I didn't hear anything about that.
Oh, it's fine.
It's just a normal average grand finals.
Is it okay?
Delight is wrapping around here with his ultimate. And we'll be able to clear this ward. It's very difficult to challenge this as Gen.G right now, although Chovy has a little bit of a window.
River control.
Yeah, looks like Zeus is going to hop away, so he's fine there, but denying the TP is what's important, if possible. And Keen is just running down here with his ult, so he can join the fight if necessary. As now, we do have the teleport coming out, and the Scion is going to be ulting in. They try to go in onto the front line here. A ton of damage into Canyon, and he will be going down. But it's in a trade for the support as Peanut super low himself. Keen frontlining for the team. As Zeus kind of just has to get out of here. Zeka just zoning the rise, but not good enough. And Zeus will have to flash away. Looking for the double dragon is Gen.G. And can they actually lock it down? It's a massive shockwave comes in from Zeka. He only gets the 1 though. And it is going to be the Dragon going the way of Gen.G for double Dragon.
And it was almost a potential steal away there by Viper at the end. He's not quite able to secure it against the smiteless squad, but very, very close to really backfiring there. Massive shockwave from Zeka. If Viper was on the other side of the fight, that could have been more disastrous for Gen.G. Instead, they take the double Dragon here. As we move into this fight, you can see Delight has a pretty good angle here onto Canyon. They're looking for the single target blow up. The problem is the fight is otherwise very split here for Hanwha Life.
And the big difference maker is Keen, because this early on, he doesn't really take that much damage. As we can see, tanks multiple people, and even though Canyon goes down and that target fire is nice, the damage dealers of Gen.G are still alive. And that's what it always is going to boil down to. As the fact that Zeka lives there as well is kind of perfect. With Gen.G, they can't afford to get out there, because then Viper would probably steal the Dragon. And this is what I want in my game 1 in the Grand Finals. Both teams back and forth, a lot of fighting, but Ocean Soul, particularly on champions like Ezreal and Sion that are going to be looking for these more drawn-out fights, kind of crazy. Even Ryze is going to become really beefy as the game goes on.
Yeah, it definitely does feel like this should favor Gen.G, this Soul. It's not the strongest, but we're going to like it, especially with these 2 Drakes that they have picked up. And you take a look at where the gold is here for Gen.G, even though they're behind overall. Ruler's getting really fed. He's 2-0-2. He's got double buff, and this Ezreal's going to hit his 2-item spike very early on. Right as I say that, maybe I cursed him, is now trying to go in and take down Viper, trying to take the 1v2, does get the kill, and now Zeus is like, well, I guess maybe I'll take him out eventually here, but still, the fact that he was able to get a kill in that circumstance is big.
When you have a 2-carry composition, it's looking pretty good if Ruler's one of them as he gets the trade, and that allows the cross map to be favorable for Gen.G.
Didn't end up being a caster curse at all there, Chronicler. He just outplays it.
Yeah, of course, they're not real.
They're not real, sure, whatever you say, Cronny. Little crazy.
You're outnumbered here on this desk, Chronicler. Be careful.
Oh, normally it's 1-to-1. Oh no.
Yeah.
So Viper goes in here, and Ruler ends up doing a ton of damage. He loses his barrier. Ruler looks for the fancy play with a redirect on the True Shot Barrage, try to trip them up. Ends up getting the kill because he has enough damage here with the lead he has to take Viper out. Is, of course, a trade in kills, but ideally for Hanwha, you kill him and nobody dies.
Feels like a bit of a over-eager play from Viper there as well. If he plays that a little bit more respectful and doesn't face tank the Ezreal that was already really chunking him, I think that just with the damage from Zeus, who is sitting at a really big spike with his first item and Electrocute, probably could have been enough. But Ruler able to find the kill. The rest of the map still looking good for Hanwha though. But it's these fights. I think in the last fight we saw as well, if Peanut can't find anyone to ult, and Keen can just draw attention in the backline, they don't have necessarily the best tools to kill a Sion in mid-game, particularly now that the first item is finished.
Yeah, might end up going back to that tier list versus counterpick conversation from Coach Kim. If he feels like the Sion is just that good and it felt good in this draft, he says, well, you don't necessarily need a counterpick if we have Sion.
I think it gets a lot easier when we get a little bit later into the game, and the Leandries that Zeus has picked up here already will really help. But man, Keen has gotten so much alone time with his turret. He's actually almost taken the whole thing out here, by the way. First brick on the line.
Yeah, he's definitely going to get it, and that means that they're one objective away from the feats of strength, as now he got an engage coming in, but that's on a Ruler. He's totally fine, and now they just turn on a Peanut. The damage is huge. They can't quite take him out, and finally they do. Canyon gonna pick up that kill. And Gen.G immediately turned the fight around, and Keen is having a ball down here in bot lane.
He's just ulting Zeka. He's like, I took your turn, I'm gonna take your health bar too.
I think he might have actually interrupted Zeka's ult, because Zeka's TP, or Zeka's teleport rather, is on cooldown.
Yeah.
I don't think he was able to join. Maybe that was why Hanwha Life played that aggressive, because they got the ult on Duro, and then if Zeka's able to join the fight, they could have played with a numbers advantage. Now Gen.G takes the gold lead.
Gen.G really just taking this game, grabbing it by the horns and forcing it into their favor. We didn't like the draft identity as much here, but they do have a really strong mid game, and they are powering through it despite some of the early advantages Peanut gave. See if that teleport does come through. As you say, you can see, in fact, it is available now. It's going to be interrupted in the minimap, you guys can see, by Keen's ultimate, so he's unable to join the fight as Peanut goes in a bit too deep here, and is kind of unceremoniously chunked out of the fight.
Yeah, I think the interrupt on the TP was great. The fact that he TP'd in front of a Sion is another question, but it felt very forced, that fight. You know, Peanut went in very far ahead, and I think even if the TP comes through for Zeka, I don't think he gets there on time. I think Peanut just dies anyway.
Maybe they could have looked for something on the exit. Delight did have sums available, could have chased a bit further, but I agree. I think that was it's a big deal because Dragon is about to spawn, and now Gen.G have tempo.
I think Zeka might not have even had ult, right? Because he ulted the wave to try to defend the turret moments before. Either way, going to be a big charge here.
Well, that's going to be a Canyon right in the middle of all of them. Doesn't seem to care, though, as everybody's here for Gen.G, and they want another turret. They will get it. Zeus does not join up for a fight. He's just going to take his time on this top turret, but maybe now another Drake.
They have to.
Gen.G, get the free bottom turret, stop the teleport, win the fight in mid, get Herald, push it into mid, and then now have Dragon Prio as well. Won't necessarily be able to keep it, in fact, with some retreating members here in Canyon. Not quite in the area just yet, but Gen.G can absolutely fight for the contest here, which would be sole point for them. What a turnaround in this game.
And you can see as well, Keen, with the itemization that he has, doesn't care about either Zeus or Zeka. But at least Zeus has the tools to get away from him easily, as we can see there with the dodges, and the longer trades are still okay, but particularly with this build, Zeka is just not going to damage Keen. It's just not happening. He's looking to go for a build that makes him really strong when he's focused, but he's not going to be able to chew through the Sion's health bar unless you get like 15 free rotations as Gen.G trying to play for soul point.
Yeah, and we've seen, you know, just on that point, what tanks can do when they're kind of unchecked and unbothered, especially Sion and Cassante. Those are the two I feel that really can take over games if there's no threat onto them. As, yeah, a lot of setup here once again. Prio on the Drake for the side of Gen.G. We do have push in top, and so Zeus with TP is just going to rotate up there. And it's just the Soul Point Ocean Drake, so Gen.G aren't going to take any big strides toward this unless they have a perfect setup, which is what they're looking for right now.
I mean, they have it with this. They have a flash on their Nico, right? Ruler used True Shot Barrage to gain mid prio. They have full control of both entryways, and Chovy can roam up to the other side of the fight. And so basically they're saying, Hanwha Life Esports, we're not going to start this dragon just yet, but eventually you will have to respond. You will have to force your way through. Both top laners with teleport available at a moment's notice here, but Gen.G, so much power with this control because it means that Ruler can poke, he can chunk. It's so hard for Delight to find the engage angle here when everyone is so split.
And it's kind of insane that Gen.G was able to take that early game deficit, get a couple of really good skirmishes, and be consistent in their objective setups, because their lanes were struggling early on, right? Peanut actually had a really big impact. But now what we're seeing is that in many plays, Duro's the one that's there first. Chovy's able to get prio consistently.
Duro kind of an interesting spot here, but they don't want to go all in, just onto the support. This damage
TPs
done for this dragon. The TPs are coming in. The Scion from the left side is Delight not really finding an engage angle. He's just rooted forever, and now Keen is in the front line, and Delight is just dead. He's just out of the fight, and now the front line is immediately burst down. Down goes Peanut. As a bunch of damage coming in from the side of Zeus, but he can't do it all by himself. Kenyon gonna get the Drake. Only Duro goes down. Viper hits the ground as well. It's a triple kill for Chovy.
This is the fight Gen.G was looking for. They are able to eventually force Hanwha Life Esports to make a call, make a decision. Delight's trying to find the engage angle, but can't find anything, is rooted and blown up. Gen.G gets Soul Point, they get the team fight win, and they'll take an Otacon on top of all of it.
And Hanwha Life was aware, they are the ones that need to pull the trigger, right? Because you will actually get poked down into Nico, into Ezreal, particularly in Ezreal as fed as this. You can't afford to just sit around. But as you look here, I want you to pay attention to how well Gen.G is splitting up this fight. Even though Keen doesn't find anyone, it doesn't really matter. Peanut doesn't hit the ult, and with Keen there, the turn is inevitable. Duro creates so much backline space, and despite Zeus' best efforts, can't do enough because the fight setup is so Gen.G favored.
Yeah, and this is another example of Gen.G piling a 2 threat 2 carry composition incredibly well there, dismantling Hanwha Life's engage, picking them apart piece by piece, utilizing that prio, that control over the objective to allow the damage to come through from Chovy and Ruler, even though Zeus got into the backline, even though he's looking for the big ult, the big burst there, just not able to pull it off.
I believe this is our performer, Minju. Minju from Islet, who did do the performance earlier on today. Hope you guys did enjoy that. She's here watching the games. And we'll see if her favorite team ends up winning.
And for Hanwha Life, the big thing now is finding multi-man engages. Right? We're talking combos for Delight. We're talking Zeka finding a big shockwave. The damage is still there. The team fighting power is still something that needs to be respected. But it feels like Hanwha Life haven't perfectly been on the same page in a lot of these fights. And it kind of started with that mid-moment where Peanut went in too deep. The interrupt came through. And now Gen.G, a Gen.G in control, it doesn't allow you to really play the game.
I love how Gen.G are playing this.
All right, Peanut again trying to make something happen. They turn onto him, but it is a trade for Canyon at least. But still, this mid lane turret is going to go down. And the damage is being done by Zeus into this Scion. He's got that Leandries, but it's just not enough, especially when Zeka's not here.
This is one of those trademark Gen.G moments where, like, okay, Scion doesn't have TP. We got to play around mid and bottom lane here. Sure, they're going to push. They're going to get that top bounty. We're not just going to give it up for free. Let's hard commit mid. King can actually rotate over. He has his ultimate available. He can split Hanwha Life in half if they try to defend the mid turret. So we'll either get a fight win there, or we'll get more. We'll get the inner turret. And Hanwha Life Esports are forced to respond. Sure, they were able to get that bounty gold for Zeka in the top side of the map, but Gen.G gets so much more.
The big thing for Gen.G right now is to keep using the power of the sign. I think he's the strongest now that he's going to be, unless they get Ocean Soul, because I think we're seeing Viper is going to go for LDR. We see Crypt Bloom coming through for Zeka. I think this was an attempt at trying to save the turret. Obviously didn't end up working out. They're still down a member, and as highlighted, I think they do make the right call, just keeping Zeka in that side lane. But they need to win this soul fight, because I think that Keen eventually, once those pan items are going to be finished, is not going to be as beefy as he is now. You still have to deal with Chovy and Ruler, but at least Keen, I think, is a little bit more manageable. If he gets Ocean Soul, though, I don't think that'll really apply.
Hanwha Life, if they can win this next dragon fight or secure the dragon itself, it buys them a little bit of time. It doesn't outright win them the armor pen and the big damage that's going to come through later for Viper, some of the magic pen that's coming through from Zeka. But it is definitely going to be the first step they'll need of many to get back into this game with the double AP comp that they have. And I'm most worried about the carries here for Gen.G, how well they've been played for here by Keen, by Canyon, and Duro, who's had some incredible zoning ultimates as well as just really good position, threatening roots, threatening collapses, and has been able to get away with it most of the time here. That's so threatening. Like, if you have these Fed carries protected so well, set up so well, it's so hard to fight for Hanwha Life. It's so hard to find those burst angles.
And it's good zoning ultimates, you know? It's not us going, oh, that was... They're actually creating space.
Real ones, yeah.
Real ones, Valdez.
Real zoning ultimates. The real battle.
I mean, we just showed
here.
Keen zoning ultimate in that dragon fight. I mean, it was sick. He's split them in half. He denies their entry, and this is a situation now where Gen.G are just cleaning up house before that dragon fight. Chovy can clear this top wave because the turret was taken earlier with the bounty. He needs to clear this up. He has TP.
This is such a good showcase of why Gen.G is so oppressive to play against when they get ahead. So Chovy, make sure that they get Prio towards top side. They're gonna set up for Drake now. I don't think anyone for Hanwha is going to really play towards this. Gen.G doesn't need to play for this Drake, and they're generating a gold lead just through the fact that the top lane is gonna be pushing. And we'll see, they can just play for Nash.
Yeah, look at the level difference that was just highlighted there. Zeka not level 16 for this fight. Gen.G looking to fight a straight up front to back here, it looks like. Zeus is going to be found on the flank here. Gen.G looking to push in and looking to declare this Ocean Soul theirs. Will they be able to do this? This looks like maybe the most straight up fight we're going to have in this game.
Ruler.
But it really comes down to Hanwha Life Esports. Ruler is doing a very nice job of poking down, but Keen has taken a decent chunk here from the Corki, who is online. Peanut goes in, but again, that's onto the Scion. They're trying to chip him away. They're not quite able to do it just yet, as this one is going to be engaged right onto the front line. Duro is going to flash away. The Scion is taking everything up. Duro is down, and the Redemption is used. The ult finally gets Canyon away, but Chovy accesses the backline. Peanut steals away the Drake, and Chovy is unaccounted for. The shockwave, though, is pretty gigantic. But look at Ruler on the left side. Nobody looks at him. The fight is heavily won by Gen.G.
You finally got the Scion down so low. You're finally able to take out Chovy, but the second threat comes in. Ruler's over the wall, and he's at full health, and he is just going to clean up the fight. That's the win for Gen.G there. They lose the Dragon, but they've got their eyes on a bigger prize here in the Baron.
And Chovy, for me, was the difference maker. He was the one that set it up. I want you to look at how much threat he generates onto the backline here. Continuously knows he's on vision. The amount of damage that he does here onto Zeka, meaning that he can play as far forward. Viper can't really join the fight. Goes in aggressively, gets the kill, then Zhonya's, and then here, flashes forward. And yes, that is into a shockwave. And then Ruler sees a bunch of tasty treats prepared for him by his teammate.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just the flanking rise is the scariest. On vision, as you mentioned, they saw it coming, but they had to overextend just to be in position to deal with the Ocean Drake. And yeah, they got it, but now they're 5,000 gold behind, down a Baron buff. The Rebel Baron power play very much online. You've got these gigantic carries on the side of Gen.G. The Rise, the Ezreal especially, has the largest gold lead.
And Chovy
has just been untouched this game.
He wasn't able to buy Zhonya's before that fight, but he had the Arm Guard. He has the Zhonya's now, so he's got that available again. But with his composition, also is able to get insane value out of Merc Treads. He's already so tanky, right? Because he has the Zhonya's on top of course, his Seraphs. This is the Rise build, right? He has Rod of Ages, but he also has that extra shield on top into this double AP threat. Like, the guy is just going to be so difficult to kill, nigh impossible, and you still have the safe Ezreal that you have to deal with on the other side.
We're also, look, it's 44 to 6 petals.
That might be the biggest lead we've had.
I'm pretty sure, obviously, they got Otacon, but that is kind of insane.
I mean, they were a far cry from the 2-1 petals we had after Grubs. Right?
Exactly. And I want to also highlight that unless Chovy and Ruler are standing on the same spot, I do think Hanwha Life's comp struggle to deal with both of them in an effective manner, right? So as long as Chovy and Ruler just ensure that they're never in the same position in a fight, the combo from the Light, from Zeka, might not be able to find them both, and I think at this point that's what they're going to be relying on. If they can just kill Chovy or Ruler, they'd be great, but these are either extremely slippery or tanky and with an arm guard.
Yeah, and you see how Gen.G is really able to tear open the map. As Canyon said, he's going to rip open the rift. They're kind of doing it here. They got the TP in the top lane from Zeus, who, by the way, still level 15. He's going up against solo laners who are 17 and 18 respectfully. and it's just really not online, it feels like. He hasn't had a big impact in this game as the team has been behind. The Scion has been much more of an impact in this one, we can easily say. But yeah, they just put their Baron into the other lanes. They're like, okay, you're going to TP top, we go mid and bot.
And
fine.
sure, the LDR is online into the Frozen Heart that Keen's now been able to put together here, but it still takes so long to kill this Scion. It just gets bigger and bigger as time goes on in this game that if you're killing Scion front to back from a deficit like this, it just isn't going to work. As Chronicler said, you have to get the backline targets. You basically have to cheat the team fight, or you are just not winning game one here. They have been able to stave off this Baron for the most part here. Base is still intact, 30 seconds to go. Hanwha Life hoping for another fight on Dragon, but man, Gen.G are not giving up any control. No vision here for Hanwha on the map.
Well, Peanut's going to find some. He's not going to like what he sees as he runs straight into Gen.G. And the amount of lockdown that they have with the Nico, the Vi, the Rise, is just not able to get away.
And it's been kind of the inverse. Peanut had an incredible start to this game, but I think as often is the case with Poppy, if you ever do lose control and you're playing Poppy from behind, it's not very fun.
Just gonna Scion ult straight into the front, and everybody gets delivered to the back line with the Realm Warp. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Over the wall they go. Zeus goes down, and Gen.G are just rolling Hanwha Life Esports now. It is an ace, and they might just end the game right here, 30 minutes in.
This is such a big shift of momentum here for Gen.G already in this first game. Bit of a rougher early game, but they turned it around so hard and crushed Hanwha Life Esports with a 10,000 gold lead here at 30 minutes.
Ends up being not a very close game if you look at 15 minutes onwards or so as Gen.G run it from there on, and they take down game number one here at the 2025 Uribank LCK Grand Finals.
And early on, Hanwha Life showcased again the prep, the look at the draft, the prioritization. It all felt like it made sense. But once Gen.G was able to find just a skirmish or two that was going their way, they really were able to run away with the game. And it kind of, again, reminds us, Gen.G is one of the few teams that can run these two carry compositions. Now, Hanwha Life, losing on site selection is always rough, but particularly with Fearless, particularly with these two teams, it's a good start for Gen.G, but I would expect Hanwha to be a little bounce back in game two.
And I really underestimated the power of building magic resistance into this double AP composition on the Scion. It worked out so much better in team fights than I expected it was going to mid-game and on because of the burst damage available, but with the itemization there from Keen, the fact that the Corki wasn't going to be able to really do a whole lot to the Scion early on, this allowed Gen.G to, if they played it right, team fight nearly perfectly through the mid-game and on.
And it's going to be whoever pulls ahead first. If you are playing either of these compositions behind, I think you're just going to be feeling miserable. It's going to be really hard to contest. I gotta be very, very suspicious, though, of this choice for the Akali. I'm pretty sure we saw Cousin BDD run this exact mid-jungle 2v2. It was not pretty. Now, that did also involve BDD getting solo killed, kind of by his own volition, but that was just into Talia. This is into Rakan as well, so I think that it's going to be a very, very narrow tightrope to walk here for Hanwha Life, and we'll have to see if they can pull it off.
It's Zeka. You know, that's the thing we haven't mentioned. It is one of his most iconic picks, right? Like, this is Zeka, one of the people who can get it done on Akali, has gotten it done at Worlds, his World Championship through an Akali meta. I just don't know if it suits in this draft here.
So we have someone here cheering for maybe the side of Gen.G. I see a lot of Gen.G signs there, but also signs for Zeus. So we're not going to know who, but either way, it does feel like Hanwha Life have they've thrown the gauntlet, and we'll see if they can do it here on Comfort in game number 2.
한화 생명 하나 둘 셋. Gen.G 하나 둘 셋.
Game number 2 already beginning. Gen.G taking a strong lead with the first win. Hanwha Life Esports picking Akali for Zeka alongside of Peanuts Trundle. Not the strongest mid-jungle duo, but will require Zeka to not get too far behind and also to have an impact. At least they have 3 threats, so even if Zeka isn't doing too much, maybe the other two can pull the weight, but same thing on the side of Gen.G with the Gwen, Talia, and Kai'Sa.
The exhaust picked up here for Keen. It's a common tech in this matchup, and will also help him out into the Akali later on in the game as well. Very powerful to shut down the Akali in team fights. And even the Yunara is a great exhaust target, so do like this choice from Keen quite a bit.
Just the more I think about it, if I could pick as a three-man unit of Xin Zhao, Talia, and Rakan versus Leona, Trundle, Akali, I feel like Gen.G really gave themselves a great angle here again. The lanes obviously have to play out the way that they like as well. Kai'Sa to me is such an interesting character as Viper and the Light actually putting the hurt on here because she is a really interesting kind of hybrid carry that obviously has a ton of damage late game, but also has really good self-heal between the empowered E as well as the ultimate, and we'll see how Ruler can use that to try and play into the amount of backline threat that's there for Hanwha.
I like how aggressively Delight and Viper are playing this, knowing that at level 1, the Leona feels very strong here. It is a Yunara lane, committing the barrier to try to chunk that health out so they can maintain tempo pressure, because if you just trade evenly, the Rakan just nullifies a lot of that. And Kai'Sa is relatively weak in these early levels, so trying to make sure they have that prio guaranteed here is going to make things a lot easier. Here in the mid lane, however, it's going to take a while before Zeka is no longer bullied.
Yeah, Tovi undefeated here on the Talia 6-0. Hasn't even played that much. I feel like it was banned a lot against him. And for a lot of the early parts of the LCK as well, when it was very strong alongside of the Xin Zhao. But the Xin Zhao, 16 games for Canyon played. And Tovi is 19-2 in the LCK on Talia. So that's even more impressive when we look at his entire LCK career.
With a KD of 9. That's,
They didn't lose a lot of those games, so I suppose...
I guess your KDA would be high.
Still very impressive stuff. He missed the cannon, though, so we can throw those stats out the window.
How good is he, really?
Zeka got hit.
He's not Tovying very well.
Well, I do see a bit of a potential opportunity here for Peanut to make an impact in the mid lane. Nope, just going to grab Scuttle. It looked like he was going to potentially wrap around, but Chovy's positioning difficult to punish. Canyon a little bit behind the curve in terms of the jungle clear, but should be able to pick his Scuttle up.
I didn't actually catch what happened, whether he took a specific path and was trying to cover somewhere. Because this is an exceptionally slow jungle clear, right? Like normally, even on the slowest junglers, you're generally be done around the time that Scuttle Crab spawns. So almost gets double scuttled here, Canyon.
We're going to maybe turn this one around as the max range. Wind becomes lightning. He's going on in, but they're not fully committing to this. And now the slow is there on a Canyon. Make that a pillar follow-up as the flash away, but still they flash jump on in. The exhaust going to help out big time. And now Peanut's taking so much damage in this front line, but so is Keen. But at the end of the day, Canyon going to turn this one around as his flashes in, tries to take it 1v2, but instead gets sat down by Canyon.
At least he was able to get the kill very, very close there in the final moments. It's a really strong 2v2 here for Zeus and Peanut if they get to fight second there, but they're not quite able to get it done. Peanut goes back in to the waiting arms of Keen. As you can see, the start here looks good for Gen.G, but they end up kind of overextending here. And this is where it looks like, okay, Zeus has enough heat here. They actually have the damage. The pillar goes down, but Peanut critically going a bit too deep.
And for me, Zeus is a little bit too early there, and he didn't actually get a lot of empowered autos off while he was overheated. And then especially with Red Buff, especially with Conqueror for Canyon and for Keen, like they have so much sustain early on. The Xin Zhao passive actually does a big number. I know he doesn't have Sundered Sky yet, but you still got to be careful in these longer fights.
Well, it's going to happen pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
2-0 already. Canyon wasn't necessarily the main character last game. Started off 0-2. Now he's got the exact opposite scoreline. And just comes from being in the right place at the right time and winning a good 2v2.
Now, I don't want to be a game one, Andy, obviously.
How about a game 2, Andy?
Yeah, I'm starting. Well, hey, the Hanwha Live struggles this year did start when Gen.G reverse swept them.
Yeah.
So we're also not going to be a game. Maybe we'll have to be game 3, at least by necessity, though, if it continues this way.
I mean, the scary thing is since that moment, since Gen.G's reverse sweep, they have never beaten Gen.G this year. And
yes,
that is a kind of staggering stat, but Gen.G's dominance makes it very believable. And this big moment here in the second game, Gen.G already taking a small lead. Now, Hanwha Life will get this first dragon, and maybe more, looking for more.
Yeah, Delay really trying to exert a lot of pressure down there and push them away. Zeus does not have his flash. Now the needles are coming in. Keen taking an aggressive trade as he is getting low, but not low enough as Canyon gets in, picks up a third kill. as Hanwha Life get the Drake, but now you've got a 3-0 Xin Zhao.
And Zeus disrespecting there. You are on the weak side. Your team is taking the Dragon. And I'm sorry, Canyon. I did slander your Xin Zhao a little bit, if only, you know, relative to some of your compatriots. I apologize. I should have been familiar with your game. You're currently 3-0 and about 850 gold up on Xin Zhao, a champion that notoriously snowballs insanely well.
Yeah, he's refamiliarizing all of us with his game at the moment, and this is a misread from Zeus, right? Ult's here to help clear the wave, but does a bunch of damage to Keen, so he's like, maybe I have an angle here? He's a little bit indecisive with it, but as you mentioned, you're on the wrong side of the map to make this exchange while your jungler is taking Dragon.
Yeah, I mean, he was just too close. I think eventually once the needles hit him, maybe he realized, hey, I can't get out. I'm just slow to Xin Zhao's here, I'm dead. That's me giving him the benefit of the doubt. I think he can't be that close to get hit, though, because he needs to be playing carefully, as you guys have pointed out.
It's also a good sell by Keen. I think Keen purposefully takes a little bit of that extra damage on the equalizer there, which is, together with Zeus just being a little bit too eager, what prompted him to go in. And that means that the gold lead towards the top side of the map, absolutely ludicrous. The upside for Hanwha is that this does mean that bot lane hasn't really been bothered whatsoever, which means we are starting to see a Viper build a bit of a lead. And I do think Rumble, as far as picks that can be put behind and still have an impact go, is still pretty solid. But then I look at the CC, there isn't actually that much lockdown to enable this equalizer.
Yeah, that's the thing about this draft to me that I have serious issue with, and why I often have issue with Akali in this meta is you need to have a lot of lockdown in most compositions in professional play here at the LCK, and the Akali just doesn't give you any of that. She gives you burst damage. If she gets accelerated, her CC is deleting people, as we're going to see a potential all-in here, but once Duro shows up, Viper thinks better of it.
That is good CC.
Yeah, it is, but now he got some needles coming on in. Keen taking an aggressive trade once again. The overheat comes out as Exhaust utilized. Keen, he wants the kill, and he wants it now. He will pick it up, but he does go down in the trade. Has to utilize Exhaust as well for that one, so I suppose Zeus will be happy with the way that one went. As, by the way, as that was all happening, all the grubs go over to Peanut and Hanwha Life Esports.
Yeah, I don't think that's exactly the outcome Keen was hoping for there. As Viper sitting on his ultimate here with Peanut on top side, this is definitely a diveable situation with the wave they have, but it's too high risk. I think they were con with Flash and ultimate available, and Canyon now spotted in the vicinity. They definitely wanted to go for it, but they think better of it.
I think they were kind of testing the waters there. We also saw Zeka roam up halfway through the jungle to maybe try and go for a collapse, but if Canyon's there, you just can't go for that play. 4v2, I think you can pull that off. When you're 4v3, especially if Fed's in Zhao, that's just not going to work.
Zeus here in this bottom lane, trying to make something happen again. The wave's not in a great spot. Equalizer here ends up getting a decent amount of value as he tries to trade back. Again, he's forced into this, gets exhausted. Now, could have, you know, if he had Flash here, maybe turned this away and gotten away, but I think his Flash had just come back up at that moment, so it doesn't have it. Doesn't opt to have it if he did have it, or doesn't opt to use it. And he has Flash still now, but you can see in this collapse that we have on the bottom side, maybe there's an angle. Now, Canyon is rotating down at the same time, so is Duro. And what Hanwha Life want to do right now is get some kills on either this Akali or Yunara as soon as possible, so they're constantly trying to set up these dives. They're constantly trying to set up pinches here, but Gen.G have had so far good answers, and Canyon's here once again.
Canyon is here, and I don't think that you can fight against Canyon. He got a 9.5-minute Sundered Sky. This Xin Zhao is unkillable. They have the man advantage, but they're not going to be able to dive this turret by any means. Well, I say that, they're trying to look for it, actually, but the Kai'Sa's coming down. The turn coming out here from Gen.G is cautious, especially with the Akali out on the map, but they'll prevent any kind of dive from happening on the bottom lane, as TP almost interrupted there, actually. But Zeus does get back up to the top lane, and no dive or fight even occurs.
Yeah, I really liked, even though Keen ends up trading 1-for-1, I think that was still him going that aggressive was because Zeus's Flash was like 9 seconds off as that play came through. So he was just trying to look for the punish. I think he did still take too much damage. I just don't think he goes for the final dash in if that Flash is available as Ruler.
Yeah, a bit of an all-in on here. We do get the charm. It's basically just for peel. You can see that Viper is still continuing to be as aggressive as possible, and Ruler and Duro giving him the respect he deserves.
I think they were trying to punish the fact that Viper used ult in the previous exchange, but doesn't really go their way because Viper has Kraken Slayer.
Uh-oh.
And Ruler has a cause. Oh, Canyon.
Well, we got full summoners here for the side of Hanwha Life Esports. We'll see if Viper can get away. He's not going to flash the knock-up, uses the barrier, and at the end of the day, he just goes down, and now the Talia's in. That's 2 kills now for Gen.G.
They have to get something cross-map here. They have to, or they're in big trouble.
They might just be able to exhaust is still on cooldown, and 3v1, they will be able to at least take down Keen, but that is 2 kills. 1 more in a Canyon's pockets, 1 for Ruler to help catch him up, and the Dragon on top of him.
And Canyon was able to get so much in this exchange. Like, during that fight in the bottom lane, he was able to get Raptors, then wrap around to get into the bottom there. I think Hanwha Life just did not account for it, then rushed to make the play topside. They will be able to get this turret as well, so that's a lot of gold injected here into Hanwha Life.
I do actually think that this play isn't all that bad for Hanwha. They get first turret, and the gold swing is pretty sizable because Chovy also TPs the bot lane here. In hindsight, might not really have been necessary if you look at how the play shakes out, because it means that that is what frees up the play towards topside. And this is 3 plates, a turret, and what, about 3 full waves that are just gonna get blown up. There isn't a response ready as the dive from Hanwha Life is clean. And that does mean that Zeka is actually off to a great start in this game.
Yeah, he's been spending some time alone, getting some additional farm. He has that kill there as well, and he does pick up a lead that he so desperately needed. And the question is, what happens in these next few fights here for Hanwha Life? Are they able to use this slim lead that he has right now, you know, maybe on this Herald fight, for example, to explode and get into this position where Viper is a threat faster than he otherwise would be? Because I think that's how this composition has to work for Hanwha. If they lose control of this game, I don't think they ever get it back. If game 1 is anything to go by, but if compositions are anything to go by as well.
See a bit of a freeze up in the top lane. Zeka going to join Keen up here and try to break the freeze. Should be successful. But a little bit of golden XP denied away from Hanwha Life Esports, but a nice little freeze from Keen. And it feels like, you know, somewhat of an even game at this point, but certainly the gold where you'd want it, I would say, here for Hanwha Life Esports, on that Akali, on the Rumble. Yes, the Xingqiao very strong, but it's just one guy, and your Kai'Sa's going to take a little while to get online.
It's a really important Herald here because it's a lot of map control to be gained by taking out that mid turret. They already have the top side turret. It's also feats of strength, so these are reasons why Gen.G might want to opt into this fight. But Hanwha Life absolutely want to fight right now with this Akali and try to win a clean fight to get Viper further ahead here. So this is a really important timing here where Gen.G need to make a clean decision. Do we outplay them with a Weaver's Wall? Do we try to force this fight, or do we simply give it up and try to get something elsewhere? Because this fight could blow up in the game.
Trying to go on a Ruler here that's already a ton of damage as in goes to Leona, but Duro is there for the peel. Takes a bunch himself, but the follow-up from Chovy gets there on time. The equalizer only hitting Canyon as eventually Ruler doesn't have any way to get out, and they do collapse onto him. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Lots of damage done here by HLE, and they're pushing bot at the same time.
That's a big win for Hanwha because they're also able to, again, get Zeka even more gold. Make the player good punish there on the flashless Kai'Sa. Don't think it's going to lead to an objective, so it does mean that Hanwha Life isn't able to further build upon the lead if they got bot lane turret as well, but they still get the TP out of Keen. That's going to be TP advantage now. The only downside is Viper flashed in that play, as did Zeus, and those are 2 very valuable cooldowns.
Yeah,
it's a delight that starts us off.
And I was talking about, you know, the Herald, but Hanwha Life, like, forget that. We're going to look for any pick that we can, and they end up getting Ruler's ultimate here early. The re-engage looks like it's actually potentially going to be able to save or peel, but it's unsuccessful. Ruler gets blown up here in the end, and it's more money to these carries here for Hanwha Life. Now we're on this fight here for the Herald. Zeus does not have his ultimate back online just yet, though.
It was Zeus' ultimate, though, that killed Ruler there, because he couldn't actually walk it off the way that he wanted to.
They're committing to a fight on the bottom side here with the exhaust. They want to take down Zeka, but he's Akali. This is very difficult to lock down. Toby doesn't have his ult. And meanwhile, Hanwha Life Esports were just getting the Rift Herald, so that's going to feel very good once again to get another TP out of Gen.G.
Canyon wants to try to stop his back here.
He'll be able to.
Might be able to just take him down at this point. No ult available for Zeka. We got redemptions coming in as Canyon says, I want this kill. And I want it now, but the flash is going to come out as there's the W! Follow-up kill from Ruler from downtown in the jungle. Going to take him out.
And thank you for the delivery, says Ruler. I'll be taking that kill as the Kai'Sa now 3-1.
Oh, Ruler loving that moment there. Grabs the kill. A nice punish to come through from Canyon, so at least they were able to get something in return. It looked like the heavy commitment had failed there right here on this play from Keen on the bottom side, because they're getting Herald and they're also getting a turret. You cannot allow this Akali to get away with it. Zeka's able to ult over the wall here. Chovy shows up, and if they don't get him here after that much of a commitment, it's a disaster. But somewhat of a greedy back location here for Zeka. Canyon gets the punish, and then watch Ruler on the angle here. Post flash. Snipes him. Ooh. And Delight tries to flash for the interrupt, but is unsuccessful.
Yeah, I think Canyon probably would have always gotten him, but denying the kill to Ruler would have definitely been a worthwhile endeavor. Does mean Hanwha Life have tempo on the next Dragon spawn, and they are a dangerous team if they can get access to a Cloud Soul. Gen.G though, it's only the second Dragon, so they're going to get this one up.
Yeah, just one Cloud Drake for now is what they're going to say. It didn't look like Gen.G were really in a position to reset and get there on time anyway, so just kind of had to give it away. Hanwha Life Esports will very much enjoy that objective. Viper in the mid lane, he's down at 1,000 gold, but still his presence is felt, and they haven't even used the Rift Herald yet, so they want to chip away at this mid lane turret, take it down. We got a wall coming in, but the charge is still going to come down, as it does not block the Rift Heralds, unfortunately for Chovy.
And that critical Herald that we talked about wasn't the team fight that they got. There wasn't a big swimming win there, but the Herald itself was picked up. They got the turret in the bottom side, and Hanwha Life down in gold technically, but have so much map control.
All right, really trying to lock down Ruler. He does have his flash. They use so much to get the flash, but it is definitely very worth it, especially when there's no objectives and your lack of ultimates don't really matter.
It's really big, because it means that the pillar gets so much more value. It means Akali's life becomes a lot easier. Kai'Sa has good self-peel, but it really is relying on actually getting plasma stacks. And if the rest of Gen.G isn't in a position to provide this for Ruler to reposition amidst the fight, could end up really struggling, as this long-range engage from Hanwha Life actually ends up being really successful, right? Like the pillar, the Light's ultimate, and these equalizers.
The way that Gen.G's comp can work from behind oftentimes relies on you to set up picks with the shove or a really nice catch on a single target where you can see the follow-up from Ruler, but he's never really going to be able to match Viper's damage later on. Even with the 1,100 gold lead and an item lead right now, that advantage feels temporary in this draft here for Gen.G, especially when Hanwha Life Esports have those turrets down and can make those big dive plays happen with this Akali that's relatively accelerated still in this game. So Gen.G kill lead, gold lead, which is somewhat neutralized here. So we'll maybe try to grab back some map control with a pick onto Zeus, but he's got Delight nearby, and I don't think Gen.G will be able to make the pick happen. But I do think that for Gen.G here, you need to really figure out where you want to fight your battles now, because you only have a few left before Viper just becomes out of control, impossible to stop.
Now we'll see if they can make it to that point in time. You can see Canyon is roaming the map. He's trying to find a big impact on the very fed Xinjiao from early on in the game, the 4-0 at like 10 minutes or something ridiculous. And that's Under Sky at 9.5 minutes. But hasn't really been able to. It feels like Hanwha Life have been able to control the flow and really take the fights that will benefit them so far.
Viper has to be careful though, because if he ever does get touched by any CC from Canyon, from Chovy, or from Duro, if Ruler in a late game teamfight does get on top of him, Viper having one dash isn't going to change the fact that he will just get blown up by the Kai'Sa in a matter of seconds. And Viper now with PD done as well.
And also the Shadow Flame for Zeka coming in at the exact same time. The item buy times here right as the Otacon does spawn. Means that Gen.G need to be very wary of a potential take and or turn off of it, as they're just going to go straight to it. I mean, Viper does an insane amount of damage, and they don't have to start this right now, but the fact that vision is cleared means Gen.G need to pay attention, need to be in the area.
Second item here finished for Chovy, just picked up that Rylai's and TP'd into mid. So, as you mentioned, Wolf, they need to be in the area, they need to be checking in, as they don't quite have the vision control of this objective. But I think the fact that they come in here, and it's still very early on in this game, it's not going to be any ability for them to just rush this down at this point. So they're going to take this opportunity as Gen.G group up to send their side laners to top and mid.
Feels like Chovy's teleport is constantly under threat by Hanwha. He keeps having to teleport in to try to support plays, and then Hanwha Life either are able to turn it into an even play or just escape entirely. And now they actually have teleport advantage here, and The push in the top lane is free for Zeus. He can take a free back right now, and that threat on the Otacon is still there. I mean, they do a lot of damage. Gen.G have to respond. There's the TP from Zeus. Keen will likely have to match here.
Yeah, Keen will definitely have to match. You can see that Duro's going in, but he's going to be locked down. He kind of gets denied his way out. Still has the quickness, but zoned away very low on HP now. As you see the flank coming in, has to flash the seismic shove already. And now the engage is going to be forced here by Delight. It's in onto Canyon and onto Ruler in that backline, but they have so much damage onto that Leona. They can't take out Ruler as look at Zeka goes so deep, but eventually just goes down and Ruler survives this entire fight. Viper doing an excellent job of kiting it out, but he's the only one alive. And Chovy goes in and shuts him down. Takes the kill, and Gen.G take a gigantic fight.
Chovy will take no chances, even though it's just Viper. He's bloodthirsty for the kill, not allowing Viper to try and get something around this Otacon. And Gen.G find a colossal fight.
And Hanwha Esports on the turn here, a little bit sloppy. Duro's initially caught. They could have slow played this, but instead they think they have an opportunity to collapse onto Canyon. Of all players here, they look for the engage. The Light flashes in for the stun, Solar Flare follow-up, and try to taxi his way onto Ruler. But Ruler is too well protected, and you can see the woes of the composition here for Hanwha Life in that they don't have that much pop, they don't have great CC, and even though Ruler is initially kind of caught there after they taxi through Canyon, it's just not enough, and there's just way more consistent damage here when you actually all in on one player. Viper can't get it done alone when there's no front line and everyone else has already just disappeared.
And again, it's the combination of that Reap. Oh, hold up.
Yeah, we got another fight here. Looks like Hanwha Esports kind of half-heartedly just kind of running in there as Duro's going to get away. It's a big equalizer, though. They take out Keen. The follow-up is there for HLE. They want to get Duro, but it's not enough. Finally, they do get him on the backside there, but in goes Ruler with the assassination. But this time, Viper has tons of room, gets the shutdown on the Xin Zhao. And Chovy here on the run, trying to take the disengage cone, but the follow-up from the Yunara is just too big. It's 2 shutdowns for Viper's Yunara.
A good counter punch, though, coming through from Hanwha Life, taking a little bit of tempo out of Gen.G Seals that really wanted that mid lane turret. Ruler, though, stays alive, as I think Gen.G, just like us, getting a little bit caught off guard by this fight.
Yeah, unlike the last game 1 attempt here to defend turrets, this ends up being a correct sacrifice. Delight goes in, dies. The equalizer is massive value, but Keen is also cut off, and Gen.G can't peel because they have to deal with that equalizer burn. And from here, Viper is just like, no one can touch me. I'm a Yunara, I'm online, and even though his team doesn't have a robust front line, when Gen.G are this split up and you have a ton of tempo in the fight, the engage was enough to actually get him into position to do massive amounts of damage alongside his 2 carries there. And now Viper becoming a really big problem here for Gen.G later and later in this game as we get to more 5v5s.
Ooh, and something we haven't talked about yet, but I do actually think is now worth to mention. There's Ruler. He's Peanut's there.
It's the Ruler spot. He's by himself in the Ruler spot. Who could have predicted this? He just goes down essentially for free. No flash, no way to get out. Uses his cleanse. And yeah, he just got flanked by the Trundle and had no idea. It was kind of a no man's land.
And 3 out of these Hanwha Live members have been in the LP. I think you see it right there. Ruler getting caught off guard, but also the immediate attempted collapse from Zeka to catch them in the rotation. And the fact that they were able to take down Ruler is a really big deal. The gold lead that Gen.G fought with a bot lane fight now gone. But the fact that there is additionally the Akali, which is such a good counterpick into the Gwen, is why we see Zeka getting to display first. Why he's able to catch him in the rotation.
And you can see the value of the mid-turret take, right? Yep. Like, that allows you to wrap around. They know Ruler doesn't have flash. You mentioned it earlier. A lack of flash on this Kai'Sa makes it so difficult to get away from the Trundle. It's a really good proactive play there from Peanut. And Ruler just thought he was safe, just did not know about that wraparound, is punished there, had to drop his cleanse as well arguably didn't have to, but opted to late on in that fight, did not save him. Hanwha Life take a gold lead here again. We're dead even on Dragons, but I do think that some of the hardest parts of this game here for Hanwha Life are behind them now.
I think for Gen.G, they have to be very decisive about how they take these fights. It can't be Ruler being caught out. You know, Hanwha Life, if they play this guerrilla warfare and they get these picks, it's always going to favor them with the Akali, with the Yunara, with space. But if you have a Gen.G that engages with the Rakan, the Xin Zhao going in, you've got the Kai'Sa to lock on to the weakest target in the backline, then you're feeling good. But a couple of fights in a row, Hanwha Esports catching Gen.G off guard, and they have scrapped their way back into this game.
And Gen.G, they need the prep, because I think we saw in that last fight that they won towards the bottom end of the map, as we do see both Viper and Zeus pumping some insane numbers.
7,000 up for Viper, 1,500 gold behind earlier, doesn't matter.
Additionally, particularly with you, when we saw how that bot lane fight played out, if Ruler gets to reposition, if Chovy gets to just get rotation after rotation, I think their composition still works, but both these comps are kind of finicky. I think the Gen.G comp is a little bit easier, but they do need to not be caught off guard, in that combination of the Pillar, the Light's ultimate, and Zeus's ultimate is such a deadly threat for a Gen.G, unless they're willing to heavily invest tools.
And the Gwen's behind, they don't have map control, and so it's hard to make plays. I think map control is so important for a composition like what Gen.G have. They have 0 grubs on this Gwen. If the Gwen was ahead, maybe she could do a little bit more insides here and start to threaten turrets, but that mid turret still being alive for Hanwha, that defense of the turret still plagues Gen.G in this game. Less agency for Duro to look for wraparound plays, and Hanwha Life just continue to force those scrappy fights you were talking about, the guerrilla warfare, Valdez, that has been so successful for them in this mid and now nearly late game.
You see a fight brewing here. Delight kind of by himself. You see Viper not really able to help him out. That's the flash on in. Will they overcommit is really the only question I have, as this is just a Leona, but they are going so deep to try to kill Delight, and yes, they will. But Ruler by himself behind the play as they look to collapse. He goes Zeus over the wall, tons of damage, but they turn onto him. Immediate double kill comes in for Keen, and now it's 5v3. Yes, some low health bars here for Gen.G. But they're still liking the way. They're still liking the numbers. Chovy going in by himself, but he knows he's tanky. The damage from Viper is way too much for them to handle. As the flash shuriken is going to miss, Chovy has to flash away. Gen.G barely get ahead of this fight.
This game is crazy! It's actually Gen.G to try to
They're running for Baron.
Life.
They've got control vision. They've got control vision. They're going to try to force Gen.G to rotate over. There's
Gen.G know about it, yeah.
They have to peel off. The Peanut is just too low. So Gen.G will get the Dragon. And there's just no response, unfortunately, for Hanwha Life fans here on the other side of the map. What a
just a Drake.
Fight. Yeah,
it's just a Drake.
Just a dragon.
It's just a dragon.
It is Soul Point. On the other hand,
such a wonky fight. They go so deep to kill just a Leona.
And in this moment, you could see the power, though, of the flexibility that Gen.G have in their composition. Like, the Gwen can just rip through health bars here, and now they're set up. The only person who's not is Ruler, but he has Duro doing an insane amount of work here to peel, because if Ruler dies here, I think this fight looks completely different. And then Chovy's near death on the re-engage was very scary, but he knows he has to do something, otherwise Viper can just hound them down and take them out.
We saw Chovy, I think, justify it, so get a lot of flack after the game against KT. That series, he didn't have enough impact. That's no longer the case. He's playing for max impact.
You mean the first series against KT?
Sorry, the first series against KT. Very good, very important clarification. What I want to highlight, though, is that exhaust from Keen. I think that Zeus knew that he was going to die there no matter what. If he doesn't get exhausted and his health bars are a little bit lower, that could have actually been the difference. The immediate exhaust from Keen cuts so much damage from that rumble.
And the follow-up of Chovy's ultimate there from Cannon instantly on the Viper forces him to flash. Now there's no Yunara flash for an upcoming fight here. And so Viper is definitely a much easier target in this upcoming skirmish that we're going to have around the next objective, which could very well be this Baron here. And so Gen.G's main goal, and will be for the rest of this game, is to blow up this Yunara, who does have a shield bow, is very difficult to kill, but doesn't have much of a front line. So if you just get access to her one time, she can't flash that engage, the Rakan coming through, or a seismic shove, or even a Xin Zhao. Hanwha Life Esports fall apart at the seams once Viper is dead in these team fights, and that flash grab from Chovy, absolutely massive.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be liking that, especially if they can force a fight sometime soon, as at least the cooldown is about halfway through, so should have it for the Drake fight. But if we sit around for 3 minutes and they don't force a Baron, maybe he could have that flashback on time, as we'll see what Keen's going to get on his back here.
Zeka might end up being the big difference maker. If he actually can get on top of the backline, can get on top of Ruler, even with the reposition, with how much money this Akali has, can blow up Ruler in seconds. The exhaust from Keen, again, I think is going to be a big big tool, though, that is available here for Gen.G. So Hanwha Life's engage needs to be very deliberate. I really don't think you can give over a possible Cloud Soul, and I think they know.
No light. Okay, he's going to get away this time.
The Ghost actually saving him.
Yeah, the Grand Entrance
Are we
looks
Nashing?
pretty good as we got maybe a flank coming in here. Yeah, the Akali's got an angle. Zeka looking for it. They want to turn onto him. And so Zeka's angle going to be denied. And now the follow-up comes in and Zeka's just by himself. He gets taken out essentially for free in the flank. It immediately backfires.
Duro's the flash and ult there to help secure the kill before Zeka can get out there. And that's a huge pick for Gen.G, and they'll finally take out this mid turret.
Rula turns around and says, I am the danger, as Zeka is trying to find the flank, gets spotted. Gen.G read the play, and now they start up Nash.
Okay, this is still not a free Nash by any means. Viper doesn't have that flashback, but he is ready to fight.
It's going to be up to Peanut, but they immediately turn onto him as they burst him down. The burst out of this comp is just insane from Gen.G, and with no jungler, that just means Gen.G get a free objective, and this game was so close, but immediately it's ripped open again by Gen.G.
Ruler turning onto the flanking Akali may be what won this game here for Gen.G. That choice alone. However, it's the play from Duro that guarantees the kill, and I think we've seen so many of these moments here for Duro in this first game, in game 2 here as well, and have gone, I think, appreciated by us, but man, those types of moments, you have to be snap on the flash. He was, and then here, brilliant turn, so 2 turns back-to-back on this Baron secure, and suddenly Gen.G have map control foreseeably for the rest of this game.
It's just insane. There's so many things that come together there. There's whoever used the Scryer to spot, then there is Canyon with the immediate turn, then there's Ruler already pumping damage numbers. It really is the entirety of Gen.G, and then in the fight afterwards, Keen leads with the exhaust, which sets up the slow, which sets up for the guaranteed lockdown from Duro. They're just a well-oiled machine. Hanwha Life still in this game technically, but I do think they need to win this next fight. They need to find a way to take down these Freds. Because otherwise they're going to not be able to play the game for the rest of it.
And I agree, and the timing of these backs here for Gen.G gives them just enough time to rush back over as this dragon spawns with the Baron waves pushing. That bought them enough space. They get their back. Zonya's done for Keen now. It's a huge spike for him. GA's up for Canyon. They want this soul. All they have to do is stop Viper in one fight. Viper got his IE for this one. This is likely the fight to decide the game.
Yeah, it might just be all up to Viper as the guerrilla tactics not necessarily working out as frontlining now. The light goes in, but look at the damage on the Peanut as that's a big stun. Gets Ruler down, and now Viper's got it. The spike comes in as Peanut lives and takes down the dragon, denies the soul once again. Trophy's gonna go down. And the Zunara unchecked in the fight means that HLE will win it big time.
They might be able to land.
We'll
The
see
death
if
time is
they
on like
can.
50 seconds.
Keen, though, he's gonna stop the mid wave at least. They're trying to go for bot wave.
Oh, that's hard.
I don't know
really
if they've
hard.
got enough time.
I don't think so. I mean, it's still really long death timers here, but they have to spend so much time pushing this wave through an entire turret here. The inner turret's still up. Peanut's going to tank it to try to rush this down. I think Gen.G will have a defense.
Baron left minions
It's
too.
close.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's 15 seconds, 10 seconds on Ruler. I don't think they can end. They can definitely get an inhib though, and the gold lead is gone. Ruler, I must not have had flash there. He got caught. He literally tanked a full equalizer. Are we still going? Guys, we
Duro
need a
wants to
moment.
They do not have Baron.
They denied the inhibitor take, actually. So they're able to get up, and the Baron buff helping. But yeah, Ruler just kind of gets caught here.
Watch this. So Ruler also kind of trolled by his own teammate, but even without that, if he had the flash available, you just need to flash over the wall immediately. You just can't take that much damage.
I mean, getting caught by a solar flare on top of it all. And, you know, when the fight goes like this, where you have so many threats getting through quickly, then the untouched Yunara is just going to make it impossible for you to look for anything else, any sort of follow-up. You don't have your damage threat anymore, your main damage threat in the Kaisa, and Keen's all left alone. And that was a really decisive fight for Hanwha Life there. Snap engage onto the AD carry, and now, we're in terms of gold here, we're at 35 minutes in, practically even, just 1,000 gold in it for Gen.G.
And you can feel how much this match matters, because even though it would be just match point, Hanwha Life would still be able to fight back. Hanwha Life also must know, if this happens and Gen.G in a fearless setting get free opportunities to find a better draft and are able to rely on the powers that they've shown throughout the entirety of the year, it is possible. Gen.G showed it to us way back in the road to MSI, but it's so hard, and Hanwha Life's resilience cannot be overstated here.
Yeah, and just the fact that we've seen many times in this series, and in this game especially, a team take a big lead. Like Gen.G had the Baron push, they had the setup for the Cloud Soul fight, and yet still Hanwha Life Esports were able to fight back is just true testament to how hard these guys are fighting and the excellent setup from HLE in that last fight.
Chovy is looking for a potential punish here of a collapse onto Keen, but it will not come through. Keen has the Verdant Barrier now as well, which gives him a little bit of additional safety, actually, when he is kind of spacewalking his way alone out to these turrets. And the next objective is going to be the next Baron, right? In 90 seconds time or 80 seconds or so, Hanwha Life Esports nearly fully set to fight. I mean, they don't really get much stronger than this. There's one more item in the tank here for Viper, who obviously has tier 3 boots on top of it. And for them, they're ready to look for one of those fights where they can either collapse onto someone or just play it slow and front to back, because the composition now at this point has the damage. Their carries are so online that they don't actually have to have tanks to win it. They can just win through sure damage alone with all these items coming through.
It's so telling to me that Ruler was sitting on a BF start. I assumed he was going to buy GA. He bought IE. He is sending a signal there, and as you highlight, we're getting close to full build territory across the board. We've seen the win conditions for both of these teams consistently come into fruition. For Hanwha Life, it's the chaos. It's taking Ruler out of the fight early, and it's the amount of long-range engage and power that they have, plus the burst from Zeka and the consistent damage from Viper. Looking at the setup for the objective, we have Baron and Dragon on relatively close timers. Gen.G have full control of the top side with impeccable vision. They should be able to hold on to that.
I feel like Delight has done so much heavy lifting in this game, you know? Like, he sacrificed himself so much in these fights, because if you're shooting at a Leona, you're not shooting at Viper, you're not shooting at Zeka, right? And that means those carries can close the gap. And in almost every one of these fights, he's either gotten a kill alone or has used his health bar to let Hanwha Life get into position or set up that proper equalizer. He gave Duro a lot of credit earlier. He has 15 of 19 KP, but I do think Delight is such an incredibly strong factor here for Hanwha Life. If they didn't have that Leona pick, fighting these neutrals becomes so much tougher.
And see so much setup here for the Dragon, actually. It doesn't look like either team decisively wants to go for the Baron at this point in time. Not a huge amount of vision around there, but it is Gen.G favored around the Baron. I feel like maybe they could have started it up and looked for a turn, but again, that's a little bit risky with how close this game is. And the fact that, of course, Cloud Soul is on the line for both teams. They try to get Peanut, but he's just going to flash away, and now Duro does get the double dash out of there. But that's going to be down a flash, but that's just on the Trundle as another pick on a Peanut. He's taking a bunch of damage. And they're looking for the Solar Flare. That's not even going to hit Chovy. He holds on to his summoners.
So worried about this Keen flank as well, the sandwich. Hanwha Life have to make a choice, collapse onto Keen or fight for the Dragon.
Oh, look at the damage here onto this one. The wall's coming down, but it gets fighted by Peanut as Canyon goes into his GA. The equalizer is big. Ruler trying to frontline, but Canyon going to be the first casualty, but Ruler untouched as his Viper. It's so much on a thin edge here. Ruler going in with the ultimate. Wants to execute Viper to get his GA. Ruler survives at the end of the fight. He will not be denied this fight. Gen.G take it down with a Ruler triple kill.
He doesn't need a GA. Only his flash and ult necessary to get Gen.G to team fight win.
Look at his face.
The reaction on the player cam is priceless as well, because he knows the risk paid off, and he was able to carry his team to this final team fight victory. It took 30 in the first, but in the second it'll be a nearly 40-minute game that Gen.G wrestle away from Hanwha Life Esports to go up match point, one game away from getting revenge from the summer finals from last year.
Cloud Soul doesn't do anything. The steal does not matter. What it came down to was the 80 carry doing more damage than the other side, and Ruler is able to get on in there with his ult, get the big shield, isolate Viper, take him down, and survive with the rest of his team. And again, Gen.G, now they are up 2-0 in this best of 5.
And how poetic that this was the position that Hanwha Life was in at the road to MSI. And either we are heading towards what it thus far has been in results, not in gameplay, a very one-sided Gen.G victory, or Hanwha Life have the chance to repay them for the trauma inflicted during the road to MSI.
Ruler making such a huge impact in that game, despite being caught at times. It's just a quintessential ruler game. You know that maybe he's going to greed. You know that maybe he's going to buy that IE instead. But more often than not, it will be worth it. The risks will pay off. And yes, he's 10,000 damage down on Inara, but did so much more in the final fight that mattered most. And Hanwha Life, Duro, Alistair, I mean, this composition has... I mean, they have such insane mastery of all of these champions. They have great range with the Ziggs into a mostly melee composition here for Hanwha Life. Outside of the Smolder that scales incredibly well. I just don't know if you get access to the Smolder when the Sylas has Alistair ult.
Yeah, I don't think they have access to Smolder unless they're gonna 100-0 him. They have a decent amount of CC, but if you just play Cleanse Smolder and keep your distance and scale, I think should be good. I'm kind of liking what Hanwha Life Esports have in this one. Or maybe it's a bit of a dislike for what Gen.G are missing.
My only issue with the Hanwha Life composition is that I think that they are putting Smolder in a position where it doesn't feel like he gets the most value. I actually think Smolder will struggle, even with Braum later in the game, because the rest of his team has to play so far forward to have any value, meaning that he might be susceptible. If Gen.G do fall behind, though, I think all our concerns about damage will be warranted, and Canyon needs to have a better performance than he did in the league last time.
He needs to here as we hop into the Rift for game number 3.
하나 팀명 하나 둘 셋. 젠지 하나 둘 셋.
Fans have come out and forced big time. Keen being bullied up in the top lane. Might have to flash here. There it is.
And that's some stacks for Viper picked up early as well in this initial skirmish. So big win here. You mentioned the Lee Sin previous performance was against Cuz in that loss to KT Rolster. A rare Canyon Lee Sin loss. He's another one of those champions that has the mobility to potentially find that backline access onto the Smolder. It's only one stack Viper picks up in this initial fight. I thought he was able to get 2.
I'm just
And it's the Viper swap.
Yeah, we do see it. And look at this, Gen.G, the prep is there.
Oh, they know.
They actually have already preemptively swapped. You love to see it. To me, these early skirmishes are going to decide the game, because as good as I think the Hanwha Life scaling is, that top side is lethal, but you do actually need to be able to play against what I think is also a very dangerous top side. The setup for Lee is amazing in longer fights, as Gen.G, they read the play. We'll see if Keen really waits to show until the last second, as they already know the lanes are locked in, and that is the case.
This is so funny. Smolder versus Ziggs in the top lane here in 2025. If you just only look at this, you might be very confused. Obviously, we know it's because of double Viper swap, but like, it just looks so hilarious. 2 minutes into the game, we got this as the top lane.
It's very predictable that they would go for this. I think this is in part why Hanwha then thought even further ahead, went for that aggressive topside play to try to guarantee they can get this to happen. But it's still read by Gen.G as supportal combat. Doa's watching
So much damage!
What are we doing here? What is happening?
The Light, you are in the enemy jungle.
It's okay. They have Prio from mid. A bit of extra damage on a Chovy. And so he's going to have to back away from that one, as now we're just going to have the full-on lane swap, which
Let's be honest,
does happen.
Both supports know they're not really going to have a huge impact in the Ambessa Kazante lane. As Canyon 0-1, as mentioned, Chovy 13-0 on the Galio.
Human ingenuity truly knows no bounds. We will find a way to lane swap. It'll keep happening. We are not giving up on it. It's gonna... at this point...
Professionals want to avoid bad matchups. It makes sense.
Yeah, it's just the way it goes. And we have figured it out. Jarvan on a 5-game winning streak. As you're going to have TP coming in here early from Chovy, and the lane swap will complete. Chovy all-time 16
Okay, so I was still right, 16, yeah. Including all-time. Well, this stat came up in the KT series. It was a tough game. He was able to win it there and maintain that perfect win rate. Never
wins, guys. I got nothing more to add. It's just, that's insane. That's 16 games.
Yeah.
In internationals, in LCK.
He doesn't have any wins in Challenger League, though. That is the hardest league in the world, as we know.
Oh, I mean, everyone knows that. But like,
yeah.
I'm not...
So I'm a little bit worried.
Well, we can't always bring that up.
I just thought you were baiting that's Challenger's baby one last time.
One last time.
We'll see what happens in this game. I feel like there were moments in last game, you know, when Ruler just
Yeah.
Died on the full equalizer. That could have been one.
No Mariah's group baby either. So
Well, we don't have to remind me of that, okay? That's I've dealt with that.
we can just
Fine.
keep the memes alive. You
They
know?
will. Oh, don't you worry. Well, I say don't you worry. I'm kind of relying on you guys for that. But I'm not worried about you guys doing it.
No.
Yeah. We'll keep
So-
it alive.
This game is obviously going to, with the initial plays not leading to too much, kind of slow down here. Teleport advantage went to Zeka early because of the early trades he took. He keeps it. And this is really good for Hanwha Life Esports because the slower the game is and the inability for Ruler to punish really with the Ziggs in the 1v1, you're just kind of chilling. You know, you eliminated one target to stack on initially when you matched the Viper swap, and now that it's a 2v2 again, Viper's just back to business as usual here. We'll hit that first break point at 25 and then start to continue to scale. I cannot stress enough, Viper's speed of getting those stacks is actually insane. One of the most consistent smolders in the LCK. Uh-oh.
Knocking the prominent turret range. Delight, he's like, oh no, not the mines! As first blood goes over to Ruler already. And that is so early on in the game. 5 minutes is, we got to see how that even happened. Delight now down both summoners as well.
It has to be a satchel setup,
It's
right?
gotta be, right?
There's otherwise no
Bro
way.
didn't even flash.
Yeah, I had no idea. Hopefully we'll get a replay of that. That is a really big unforced error. In the roll 2v2, just Duro and Ruler giving over an early kill to the Ziggs is always going to be a big deal, as it's probably a bouncy house combo.
Man.
Oh
No, it's even simpler than we thought.
no.
It's even simpler than we thought, and I don't even want to put it to words. You saw it visually there. Judgment error, you could say, by Delight. The veteran into Duro.
And if Duro had to invest Flash, I think he would feel a little bit less bad about that. But he didn't even use his sums.
They were just sitting there looking at him like, are you serious? I mean, it's Braum going into melee range of Alistair. Not to mention that the Ziggs is there. You're just going to get punished, and it's kind of
It's a bait!
It's a big bait here, as in goes Canyon and out goes Canyon.
Okay, I got baited.
It was 3v2, not just the Braum, but
Cannon denied.
yeah.
A little disappointed. I thought we were going to have a brawl. That would have been fun. It's fine. I'm sure it'll happen. Any second now, right?
Well, Duro is wrapping around here. Delight is down summoners. Not quite a ton of damage on this Ziggs just yet.
You know, one way you can deny Viper some big stacks is just poke him out of the game. If he can't lane against the Ziggs, if the Ziggs gets too powerful early on, then you don't really have to worry about the Smolder ever. If he just gets behind enough.
I mean, if Ruler also was able to get bigger and larger and they play through him in mid and then he is able to get rid of the mid turret, for example, with Satchel, then you can really remove a lot of the safety of the Smolder. But I do think once you hit 125, like the stacks just kind of come no matter what. But slowing that down, as they have a little bit here in this early game, is certainly a big win for Gen.G.
Ruler hasn't really been able to hit a lot of those bouncing bumps, though. We do see Duro using the phase rush nicely there to just go for these short trades, do a little bit of poke, but as long as Viper doesn't really go too low, he's not going to be too butted in the lane. Does also still have TP advantage. There's 4 teleports on Hanwha, which I do feel warrants mentioning.
Yeah, Teleport will never not be the best summoner in the game.
Well, I think Flash is kind of giving it a run.
I guess, yeah.
But secondary summoner.
Flash
Secondary
is number one.
You sillies. What about Smite?
Two.
Are we just ignoring junglers? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, well, there's only one of them, so, you know.
Well,
Yeah, how many smites in this game right now?
How many
Ronnie?
games do you think you're going to win if you don't have Smite, huh?
Count me the smites, Connor.
What about Spellbook?
You don't see Nunu all that often, do you? He's got Smite in his kit.
Yeah, so does Cho'Gath, but that doesn't mean that you don't need Smite on your jungle. Look at this, you think he goes to this without Smite?
Anyways, back to the
I
gameplay.
think you are forced to have Smite nowadays
Peanut?
anyway, so...
Peanut has his
Yeah,
ult
it's
here.
Yeah, we're getting a bit of a skirmish. It's a 3-on-3 for now, but the Galio comes in a bit sooner.
Bomb.
As, okay, Mom does come down the turn immediately on a Viper, but he just flaps away as the follow-up Galio ult stolen by Zeka, who is in the thick of it behind enemy lines. And Tovy's actually the one that's in the most danger as the kick is gigantic. But nobody has gone down yet. Finally, Duro bites the dust. As the damage comes in, they take out the Smolder. But now the Silas just loves these scrappy fights as The light will not go down, the flash through, and finally Ruler gets him, but it's still a win in the fight going to HLE.
That is challengers, baby. Let's go.
We got it one more time. In this fight, though, the setup is very strong for Hanwha Life Esports, and even though the execution of it from Zeka isn't the cleanest, he's still able to follow Chovy's Galio and get into the back line. Tries to focus down Duro, but he buys so much space for Viper.
Flash.
And Delight's looking for it.
Flash on in, and Viper is, the stun comes down, and I think Chovy will be okay. Gets the level up, but eventually you just auto-attack him to death. Not seeing the Braum TP for some reason. Chovy gets baited and dies.
Viper is at 71 stacks, and fights like this for Smolder are incredibly powerful if you have the right setup, and you're not playing against the traditional AD carry, right? Ziggs can do a decent amount here, but Viper has so much setup. There's so much frontline here. Look at this ult from Zeka. Gets on top of Duro as well, and so much resources have to be committed to Zeka that Viper's just tossing out rotations of spells here, doing an insane amount of damage. Smolder's a scaling pick, right, but does a decent amount in these skirmishes, and even though he's killed here, even though he goes down, he gets so many stacks, does so much damage. The fight is won for Hanwha Life. Ruler also having to commit his flash here is another win for Hanwha. This is looking really good for us not having a 3-0 here, at least in the outset of this one.
And then this is one that I think is fairly straightforward. Just a nice TP from Delight, kind of making up for his early mistake, gets his AD carry a kill. Want to highlight in that previous fight as well that Ziggs is a lot more rotation-based early on. I think even though Smolder isn't that strong either, at least Smolder gets to auto. And the Jarvan value was actually crazy, which allowed Hanwha Life to kind of slow down the fight. Viper didn't end up going down, and these constant flag and drags in these early skirmishes are really annoying to deal with.
For me, it was the Silas as well. I mean, he was totally unchecked. He had basically no items, right? He's got cooldown boots and a catalyst now. I don't even know what he had in the last fight. Maybe just like some crystals and a dark seal. And yet he was never in any danger of dying. They just don't have enough consistent damage to ever take him down. As now, maybe they have enough as the kick is good onto 2. They're trying to burst down Peanut, and they will be able to do so. That's a shutdown here for the Ziggs. We got TP coming in as King Sante maybe a bit in trouble, but he's just going in. As now this TP, they're trying to actually punish him for it.
He's in trouble.
As Keen is still going in, still eventually will be taken out by the Smolder. As in goes Zeus 1v3, just trying to taxi his way out. The big bomb, and Delight is going to block the damage. Gets away from that one as Chovy just solo in the top lane.
Yeah, it's a Chovy moment, but there's nothing he could have done. He doesn't have teleport, not in ult range, and we'll be able to get some plate gold here in his pockets, but it's another fight for Viper where he gets a kill, he does insane damage, takes out the Keen Sante, but he's stacking out of control, and this is another part of this Viper, or rather Smolder, piloted by Viper here, composition. If you keep scrapping early into this melee comp here for Gen.G, you're just stacking on stacking on stacking, and Viper, like I said, he's one of the fastest Smolders, if not the fastest, but in this game, he might break a record with the skirmishes they're giving him.
And if Keen hits that W onto Viper, that might actually have been enough, because there was still the ultimate available from the Ziggs. Instead, Delight kites it out nicely. Viper is fine, as this time Ruler can't get in position to flash. Drake will go over, and because Chovy got a giant shove in, I don't think it'll be too impactful when it comes to gold. But this is exactly the type of early game you'd want to see if you have Ambessa, if you have Jarvan, any of you have the Silence. And as you've been highlighting as well, Wolf, if there is a lot of scrapping and Smolder, even if he ends up dying, as long as he stays alive, which he's been able to do in most of these, you're chilling. You're just scaling into that win condition.
Yeah, the gold lead is Rulers, but how much does that really mean in terms of... Zeus?
He's very behind enemy lines. Duro still has his ult and heal. We got a Ziggs coming up here, a 4-1 Ziggs, and they can keep him around basically forever. Zeus has nowhere to go. He's trying to dash his way to victory. That's not the best satchel, and eventually he just flashes out. So they get the flash out of Zeus. They have to bring 3 people up to get it, and Viper, he's just stacking up in mid essentially for free.
He's so close to hitting that first real breakpoint of 125. You know, the first one obviously at 25, but when you get 125, you just start stacking out of control. You're stacking off champions anytime you queue anywhere near anybody, and it just becomes so easy from there. And that's why even though Ruler has 4 kills here and has that 700 gold lead, it feels like the position here in terms of AD carry value is so much higher for Hanwha Life Esports right now. You can see even Zeka's because he can steal the Alistroll, he can TP deep like he did in that skirmish around Dragon just moments before. There's just so many different win cons here for Hanwha Life in these early fights that Smolder doesn't need to scale to have an impact, but guess what? He still scales!
Yeah, I will give credit at least to the Ziggs, just up against essentially full melee plus the Smolder. They have the Ambessa for Engage, but besides that, you've got like Engage, Silas, and Braum kind of. We got another follow-up here in the top lane, but Zaya's just turning it 1v2.
And I'm glad you highlighted Veldas, because the one thing I am worried about is that all engage from Hanwha is purely hard commit, right? I think they have really great ways to start fights. You have Jarvan, Ambessa, and Silas, but they all do involve you actually hard committing to the fight. Ziggs, as fed as he is, might not be able to chew through tanks as quickly as Viper is going to chew through Cassante and through Chovy. But I do think it's important to note that the range advantage, funnily enough, in this game, I think is still going to be in favor of Gen.G, whereas Viper later in the game is only going to be able to play off of his RFC procs, right? When you have the extra range, the bombs are going to be basically consistent. The big saving grace for Hanwha is that if you do kill Ruler, this comp does actually just immediately fall apart, right?
Yeah,
that
I mean, it's a one-threat composition. They cut the two-thret in half.
Oh, hey, Keen Sante is there, which is fine for like the first two items.
Chovy's building damage, okay, you know?
Yeah, okay.
Well, he kind of has to in this comp, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Doing more AP damage
It's
alongside of this.
Guys, there's a Sundered Sky. That's enough 80 damage, right? Yeah. Guys?
Yeah, for sure, Chronicle.
You don't lie to me just because I lost.
Yeah,
don't
definitely.
do that. No.
Anything you say goes today.
Call me out.
Sure, Chronicle, yeah. Well, anything he goes, yeah.
This is the worst. This is the worst. Ruler!
Ruler in the Ruler spot. He has a TP, or a turret rather, but it doesn't matter. He's just gonna die.
Even if there's a turret there, it's still the Ruler spot. And this game is very quickly.
This Ziggs is supposed to be unkillable.
Well,
he's dead, though.
He is dead. Supposed to be unkillable.
So what are you talking about, Veldas?
Supposed to be. Supposed to be.
But he's dead.
he was dead a second time, yeah.
Yeah, and
TP's available, though.
Maybe he goes in and tries to seal the kick away and eventually doesn't get onto the eye. So it's just an easy one for Peanut. And, you know, Cannon doesn't really use anything to get that done as he is Lee Sin. Just the flash had a delight, I suppose.
All right, well, you know, there's control vision in the brush. Ruler's just trying to clear this ward. It's that simple. Viper picks up the kill, by the way, and some additional stacks for his troubles. And this Smolder is sitting at 160 at 16 minutes into the game, and he's just continuing to stack. And they keep trying to kill this Ambessa. It's not working.
Yeah, the Sonic Wave not going to land, but the Lee Sin does get in. As do they have enough damage to take out Zeus? This double TP coming down from HLE. Keen just flashing away as Keen and Canyon realizing they're in a lot of trouble trying to get out here with this Cassante. As Zeka with the chains gets under the turret, but they don't have the damage to take out Keen. As the ult, still not enough. Another redemption, gonna get Keen down. There's a Ziggs bomb, and Cassante is just so dumb. He's still alive. How is he? Okay, finally the Flash 2 comes in, and Viper takes him out. As Duro makes his way up, but look at the health bars now. And now really the Ziggs is unkillable. Nobody can get onto him as Peanut is desperate to do so. As Duro trying to frontline, and maybe they just have enough people to push him away from the fight. As the damage is there, the damage is done. The Rift Herald also thrown down in the top lane.
I guess with the Keen Sante that's so unkillable, maybe the real 80 carry all along was the top turret trying his best to get the damage done. Ruler tries to show up and make an impact there in the end, but it's too little, too late, and despite Keen's best efforts, it's still a successful play here after Zeus does go down.
I don't want to repeat myself, but that did feel like a very Challenger-esque sequence as, oh my god, it starts off with the kill onto Zeus, then the extension comes through, and Viper obviously really wants this kill, and they remember up. Watch this, Canyon actually tries to redirect Zeka, not able to, but Keen still doesn't go down, dodges enough damage, then gets redemptions, and this is where I thought they were in serious trouble. Viper ends up flashing for the kill with the Q, but it's Canyon actually getting interrupted in just a moment here, because I think that Gen.G thought that they could turn the fight here. Even though Ruler is able to get a lot of damage down right there, the ultimate from Delight plus the knockup from Peanut means that there is no Sundered Skying for you, Canyon. He goes down, and Hanwha Life building a bigger lead.
Yeah, this is just getting bigger and bigger. The snowball as well, and truly running down the hill here. And Gen.G, one last fight, one last opportunity on this Dragon.
I mean, Canyon's right here looking for the steal, but Peanut has been so good on his smites. Let's see what it comes down to. Just going to be kind of a flip as Zingo's the least in down to 35, and it goes to Peanut anyway. As he's been so good on the smites. The follow-up here, the bomb is big, but these guys live basically forever. And accessing the back line, Ruler in a lot of trouble. They're trying to peel for him. But now your front line is just gone as well. Ruler, no escape for him. Does go down even after the satchel used defensively. As this one-threat comp not necessarily working out for them. Duro in a lot of trouble here as well. They give that kill over to Viper, and HLE are running away with the game.
5,200 damage in the fight. He doesn't even have 225. He's got a lot of kills. He's sitting on rapid fire cannon, but there's just too much front line. The one threat for Gen.G is really struggling to get consistent damage done here because he's spell-based, right? He's skill-based, skill shots tossing through, not always hitting the prio targets, trying to break through that front line, but it's an easy front to back here for the side of Hanwha Life. The timing of the smite, little bit early, just slightly here for the side of Canyon, but it doesn't change the end result of the fight. Even if he gets that smite, Gen.G would just get cleared here, and Viper is untouched.
And this comp might be too Gen.G, even for Gen.G, as the damage seems to be lacking. The comfort for Hanwha Life comes through, and it's the split nature of the calls from Gen.G. Chovy going in aggressively, whereas the rest of the team is trying to turn into Zeus, who ends up really stalling for so long. And one has got to imagine that the dreadful fate of a 3-0, at least for now, seems to be slowly pushed back, as Hanwha Life, I'm sure, are going to be looking... Oh, never mind. I guess Gen.G are going to be looking for Otacon?
Viper just is about to hit his threshold as he TPs in 225 on the dot.
Yeah, I mean, he's got it, and Gen.G, they say, well, might as well throw in a risk. A big one, that is, as Zeus doing a bunch of poke damage, funnily enough, on this Ambessa. And so is Viper. The Redemption can only do so much. They're trying to get that engaged, and the access to the backline is there once again. Zeus gets it. Canyon just trying to zone them away. And it was so desperate from Gen.G. Eventually, Ruler will just be run down here as the one threat is gone. And King Sante maybe takes out Zeus, but it's not looking good in that aspect either. Finally does, but he's the only one to get a kill. As Viper has so much room, and Chovy runs tail between his legs, and Hanwha Life should be able to pick up this objective.
It's only 21 minutes into the game. Baron hasn't spawned yet, but it's nearly the full wipe here for Gen.G. Hanwha Life will be able to take the Otacon that Gen.G so desperately tried to take moments before and further their lead. And I think this looks to be the most one-sided game in this series thus far.
Speaks volumes to the fact that Gen.G are starting this Otacon, right? This is a pure desperation play, knowing that they're not going to be able to win the game, but the Hanwha Life response is great. The teleports are available, everyone is ready. Canyon tries to give his life to ensure that it's a man-up fight with Viper not there, but at this point, they don't even need Viper. There's a fed Silas, a fed Jarvan, and an Ambessa wreaking havoc in their backline. And the win streak for Chovy on this Galio sure to end. The Keen Sante, not enough. And this series, let's not forget, I'm going to keep repeating it, Hanwha Life was in the exact position where Gen.G was during Road to MSI.
Yeah, and that was the win for Gen.G that made it so that Hanwha thus far until potentially this series has not beaten them for the rest of the year. Could be another similar turning point here. Remember, this draft is relatively expensive for Gen.G as well. They lose Canyon's Lee Sin, which is kind of a tech pick that you could see later on in the series, but the Galio, the Keen Sante, these stable picks, Duro, losing the Alistair, and even that counter pick for Viper Xayah in the Ziggs is now no longer an option here. I think this draft for Gen.G was a big gamble, and let's face it, it simply did not pay off.
It did not pay off at all, and a lot of scraps go in the way of HLE. They've been able to fight all of the fights on their terms, force fights where Gen.G have to come into them. Canyon looking for steals, and you just leave your back door wide open, essentially. It has not worked out for them at all. And HLE, it's very nice to see them showing some signs of life in this series, because this could have easily been a done deal and kind of a disappointing 3-0. So we're happy here on the caster desk.
So it could be worse for Gen.G because they do have wave clear in Ziggs, you know, and it can be basically in 2 lanes at the same time. Now, I don't think that they can fight for Drake, so they are going to be down Infernal Soul Point. They also shouldn't be able to contest for Baron, and at that point, it does kind of become a problem.
So where's the good news, Cronny, for Gen.G here?
I mean, I wouldn't call it good news necessarily. You know, I think that if they didn't have Ziggs and this was something else, then it'd be a little harder to clear waves. They're going to contest. Anyway, by the way, 2-item spike have been hit for Ruler.
Oh, the ult on in. Zeus wants the 1v1 as Taunt comes down and Zeus sits him down once again and picks up the solo kill. You are not fighting over this dragon now.
I mean, he can.
You weren't fighting over it before.
He could TP down as well. It's going to force a TP out of Keen to the top side. There's just no way, no chance to contest this dragon anymore. And this draft really didn't give Gen.G a whole lot of win cons, especially face up into the Silas pick. The Alistair, the Galio, and Hanwha Life are just running away with this game. And, I mean, with this dragon now, it's soul point, but it's so many additional stats from the individual Drakes alone. Forget the soul on this already extremely fed Silas.
Yeah, upon further consideration, I find it hard to see if it could be really worse. As Chovy started playing against the Galio, or as Galio into an AD matchup, that's always a tough time. Also isn't really that tanky. Zeus, really nice recognition there of his timing window. Keen is supposed to be tanky. I don't really think that's how it's going to play out. Zeka having the best game that we've seen him have this series so far. And it's all looking good for a continued journey.
I am
with
really
the LCKer today.
Yeah, I'm really curious, Chronicler, what we're going to see from Keen going forward in this series, because he's played 2 of his most iconic tank picks so far, and then also the Gwen that we know is so incredibly strong. It's been one of his best picks this year, even from behind, and Pool's going to get a little bit more interesting because the desk was talking about it in the pre-show about how he's such a multifaceted player. He can play more aggressive picks and the tank picks so dual. He has the duality of both, right? He's not really a weak side player or a strong side player per se, but against Zeus here, already thinned out. It feels like some of your options are a little bit limited. Not to say that this win for Hanwha means that Gen.G is out by any means, but I do think that with this momentum shift here and this expensive draft for Gen.G, the series got a little bit more interesting than just okay, at least we got to 4.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to top lane picks that are still very high tier that are left, you've got stuff like Renekton, you've got Ornn, Aatrox, we've seen a lot, Yorick. Those seem like kind of the top 4 for us at this point in time, so probably going to see, again, maybe a ban on Renekton, but we'll see if Hanwha Life Esports, if they go over to the red side, are they going to ban away the Renekton from red side? Definitely a lot of play at the top lane, so it's certainly a good point. This game isn't over, but it's kind of over. Like the Nexus hasn't exploded.
We can call it.
Yes.
It hasn't exploded, but easily, as long as they don't make any grave mistakes.
All right, let's plot it out. What needs to happen? So obviously it starts with Baron Steal. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, it is Ziggs, so maybe. Ziggs Lee Sin, pretty good at stealing.
Viper gets kicked into Gen.G, while Zeka is on the other end of the map without teleport.
All right, let's make this more interesting.
I think it's hard enough as is.
Duro. Okay, what I was going to say is, let's just say, if Gen.G win this game, Chronicle will shave his head for his next LCK cast.
Hey!
Just like Max, you know?
Yeah.
For a good time. You accept Chronicler?
So many
Yeah.
Wow.
Lock it in.
Well, there's no vision here on this Baron, and somebody's got to check. Eventually, we see the Alistair ult is stolen, and they just turn onto the jungler, and Canyon is down. And just like that, they don't even need the Baron. Just get the kills and push on in, and now, with those 2 kills, they will be able to take down this Baron easily enough. And they play it excellently. They don't make any mistakes.
And we had such a good plan. And they fail at step 1. Obviously, Hanwha Life also very aware of this fact. So really clean setup here. They have full vision control. They don't need to flip the objective whatsoever. And they don't. Keep control of where Canyon is. Target him down. And this series will continue, gentlemen.
It definitely will. The game is certainly over from here as Ruler, no escape for you, as Peanut's got his eye on you as the flash comes out and you are taken down. Ruler, no hope for him. No more wave clear. left here on the side of Gen.G. No more hopes, as Hanwha Life Esports will be forcing a game number 4 in these grand finals.
Hanwha Life putting Viper on the smolder. An expensive pick for them too, one they have really mastered, but it is well worth it in this one.
Yeah, at least you take it away from Chovy, I suppose, as you've got Zeka in the pool, but you know who's not in the pool? It's Viper, as yep, he's just gonna be burning everybody down. He says, hold on a minute, let me get these kills, as the little Elder Drake that could. As they take down the Nexus turrets, they will take down the Nexus, and we have finally got a series on our hands here at the finals. Hanwha Life Esports finally end up showing up.
A close game 1, an even closer game 2. Like in game 3, a very, very one-sided affair with a pretty large gap in the draft in terms of win cons here. But more than that, the early lead that the scaling composition had was just too much to tackle for Gen.G.
Gen.G going to be having side selection in the next one. And we talked about a lot expended. I still think Hanwha Life are fighting with their backs against the wall, but the run for Peanut still continues. His chance to end his LCK career with a domestic title. Because this Jarvan game was absolutely ludicrous. Look at the damage he did. Really, really high.
And even later on in the late game, if Gen.G are ahead, plus the threat of the Blitzcrank, the extra insurance policy that Gen.G has, I'm going to have to lay in with you, Chronicler, on this one. I think Gen.G ended up with a much stronger draft here in this 4th game.
It's just hard to see Hanwha Life get to a point where I think that the draft, if you can get through the early game, is way better than what Gen.G had last game. I just think actually getting there is going to have to be an incredible exercise of being able to know when can we fight, getting the big combos, and it might be through that bot lane. Maybe Peanut can have an early impact on the Skarner, get the Pyke and Lucian ahead. That will unlock the map at least in a decent amount, but I worry for Hanwha Life. If they can get to the promised land, I think they have a good shot.
So much comfort here on the side of Gen.G. Just can't wait to see it play out. As we are ready, let's hop onto the rift for game number 4.
Gen.G 하나 둘 셋. 하나 생명 하나 둘 셋.
Hanwha Life Esports fans are desperate. They want a game 5. They want Silver Scrapes to be played once again. There's something interesting we actually saw earlier on before the start of the day, that we have an equal amount in these playoffs of 3 0s, 3 1s, and 3 2s. It felt like we've had so many Silver Scrapes, but actually it's exactly even between all the different score lines so far from the 9 matches that we've had. So it's, you know, there's no pattern here really. It's just up for grabs here in match number 10, the grand finals.
I think it's in part due to the fact that we've had some cool upsets in some series that went the distance that you didn't expect. That is why it feels that way. We do have the Viper swap to come through here once more, and this is not a surprise considering that they have the Ornn here, so the Ornn can absorb a lot of this bottom 2v2 while you see this Yorick struggle into the Lucian. So a power pick there for Viper. Yeah. That also helps the Ornn alleviate some of that pressure there as well.
The Lucian is just a fantastic solo laner. We saw actually the replay in the pre-show of him laning against a Jace. I forget who was playing that, but he was just absolutely stomping him, which, you know, a Lucian should, especially early on, as we're going to have some brawling down on the bottom side, but with Ruler here, probably not going to find a lot of angles for Zeus and Delight.
I think it was Doran in that particular game.
Ooh, little invade here from Canyon. We'll see if Zeka spots this out, but I mean, he's just level 1, more concerned with his own lane, so there should be a little quick steal away here without too much of a hassle. As Delight, he's level 1, and obviously you're always going to look for the roam. Will get found here, but there is Canyon.
Yeah, Zeka just going to flash this one and try to get away. The poison is down. They don't have enough damage. It's Delight, still level 1. Yeah. Saying hello, you know.
+1 World Atlas stack.
Yeah. Huge.
Well, this is something that Woodid has mentioned a lot in terms of the Viper swap, is how important it is for the supports to make the right calls, often sitting at level 1 throughout this early game. The first 3 minutes of the game, you need to find value somewhere. And in this case, unfortunately, because Canyon was able to predict that, go to the Raptor camp, and then be able to cover for Chovy, not only is he unsuccessful at finding anything, but it's a flash get onto this Victor early on. So really well played and prepared here by Gen.G.
And as a reminder for everyone, Hanwha Life's composition I really don't think it runs into the same issues as the one that Gen.G did last game. They actually do have a good amount of damage.
Try number
Even
2.
the Ornn can be quite dangerous. But Duro is here, right? There's just not really anything that I think they can threaten onto Chovy, and Cassio is one of those champs where if you mess up, life gets very hard. There's also the fact that Delight is playing Pyke into a good amount of point-and-click CC, as well as the miasma from Cassio, which is going to be very tough to pilot here.
Yeah, definitely will. I think Delight just hanging around mid, trying to pick up level 2, which he did do.
Yeah, he's not able to do anything pre-level 3, of course, here in the top lane because of the lane swap detection. So has to find what he can, but is unable to get anything onto Chovy. Now that we're post 3 minutes, he can come up here and try to further the lead here into this Yorick.
Yeah, you can hook Ornn, but obviously he has W, so he's not bothered.
He's just threatening him, you know. Always keeping him on his toes. Got that finger on that W key. And Peanut's going to take down the first scuttle.
Are they going to look for a dive? The wave state is kind of awkward here. Peanut will get spotted, and I don't really think there's an angle. Keen has actually been doing a good job of keeping his health bar full. Still has 2 cookies, so should be okay.
Nice.
That's what happens when you keep him on your toes. You never know. Lands the hook, it doesn't matter. We do have a bit of a dive here. Setting up in the top lane as let's see if Keen can survive with a flash stun into the wall, and that's enough damage for Viper as he picks it up, has to flash away, but his first blood onto Hanwha Esports is 80 carry.
And this is the power of the Lucian of why...
Zeka no flash!
Oh, Zeka in trouble.
Yeah, this was very confusing, trying to go for that control ward. He is going to have the flash come out here from Canyon, but it might be enough as he's going to taxi out of the Raptors, and Victor with no flash, trying to kill a control ward, just gets punished here, and it's kill over to Chovy as well.
Canyon doesn't even get the assist.
Yeah, I mean, he missed the Q. But at the end of the day, like, especially in this case for Zeka, when Canyon doesn't show up here, I think it might be a sign that you probably shouldn't try to clear that ward.
Yeah, that's especially with no flash. That's definitely not something that Zeka should have been allowed to get away with.
We've been talking about this, I feel like, for the last 3 years since Zeka won a world championship about his improvement in champion pool, but I don't know if Victor ever really made the Zeka list of champs that really he has mastery on. He's not really the type of guy who plays control mages or scaling mages. You never see this guy pull out the Aurelion Soul, let's just put it that way. But yeah, in this case, really overestimating what he could do in the mid lane there with no flash.
For Hanwha Life, it's still a go positive trade because a big wave went into the turret, and Keen not being able to grab a lot of that makes his life a little harder. Did go for the call. The biggest thing is that Viper picked up the kill and is currently sitting on a pretty sizable gold lead, which you want with your Pyke and Lucian bot lane, obviously. And that is going to be the intended bridge into this point where the Skarner, the Ornn, and the Victor really have reached that peak level of efficiency.
There's just so much strategy that's gone into this early game. I love to see it. You know, in this 4th game of Fearless in our grand finals, like all of the micro things, like Canyon going for that counter where he's able to shut down Delight's level 1 on the Viper swap. Then the dive comes their top side because they swapped to Lucian. They didn't go for scaling, they went for burst. They get that success. And you can see Hanwha Esports have really mastered this composition, but Gen.G have also expected so much of this and have been able to answer some of it here in this early game.
Level 6 is available here for Canyon. Did actually pick it up off his grump, but obviously top side is very mobile.
Jay's going in trying to beat this one, and he will be successful. Now, can they get the kill onto Keen is the question. And with Peanut here at level 5, I think you've got enough damage, but the sustain here for Keen is pretty large, and Zeus is being chunked out, has to run away. It's just going to be Keen versus Peanut. And this is a very long lane down on the bottom side, but eventually going through the wall, and the follow-up comes in from Zeus to clap him down and get the kill. With the maiden being annoying, but it's still an eventual kill to HLE.
Close margins on that one.
I was a little worried. I've seen Yorick's turn those around. Maybe if he had Flash, could have outplayed that, but Flash was used in the earlier attempt. We'll get a TP towards mid, but Zeka should be fine this time around. Flash is back up, and it is Peanut again making the early impact. 2 kills already here on this Skarner as the bait. Very successful here.
Yeah, this is really well played by Zeus. He baits it incredibly well. Obviously has the ultimate here he knows cannot be stopped. And then Peanut gets max range here, the shove into the wall. Zayas recognizes here that if he stays and tries to chase alone, he will actually die. Backs away. Peanut gets into melee range and also has his cooldown just coming back so he can get through the wall here, but guarantees those slows so that Zayas can flash for the finish there with a brittle proc as the last hit.
It's a big deal that Zayas flashes though. If he doesn't and Keen gets a moment to maybe get another Q off, that could have been the difference maker. That's going to be Grubs traded for Dragon, it looks like. Hanwha Life, anything that isn't the gold deficit, even the slightest of gold leads, staying even, are immensely big wins for this composition, I would say.
Yeah, you're definitely feeling very good, especially with the wave pushing into you. And bottom side, there was a big wave that just went into Zeus, so you're getting even more gold effectiveness across the map, essentially. Certainly, the Victor at this point is a weak point. You know, he's behind on gold compared to Chovy. But, you know, as you mentioned, if you just sit back, you scale, you farm, you just wait until Zeka has 3 items, he will eventually be a threat in this game, even if he's not going to be the main character of this one, which at this point appears to be Viper with that first blood he picked up, and this last pick, Lucian, in Game 4. Weren't sure exactly what to expect from him. We were thinking about Zeri. There wasn't a lot of options left, so had to go for something, and Lucian's got a dash and can deal with the Blitzcrank.
I mean, it's a bit of a trade-off in terms of what you could do with the early game as Delay. Let's see what he can get done here.
Now looking for the hook, but Duro, nice block. And at the end of the day, we're going to have a big trade win to HLE as Viper throws in the culling, and Roller has to back off.
One of my biggest pieces of criticism when it comes to Canyon, his Pantheon specifically, is that it seems like he really always wants to play it 100% with the ultimates. And as a result, I don't think he gets off enough. Now, a lot of targets are actually quite hard to play for. Ornn is obviously very safe, has his W, a lot of tankiness. You need to be aware of where Peanut is, and the bot lane is hyper mobile. But if I see Canyon again go without a single ultimate until like 15 minutes into the game, your assignment as Pantheon is to snowball this early game. Full clearing on Pantheon is something that I remember him doing in like 2021. Dumb one, back when that did still work. It's not the meta we're in right now.
No, certainly not. But he could still later on empower this Yorick in sides. The problem is the Yorick has already been killed twice and is significantly behind in this game. And so that win con has kind of thinned out a little bit here. The question will become for me, the vibe I have in this game is, even though Zeka scales incredibly well, we'll have an ornament, will he be able to perform with the gold lead, or not the gold lead, but with the scaling elements that Hanwha Life have for him? That's the big question, as he's played 15 games of Victor in his career. He's got nearly a 50% win rate, just below that right now. And I wonder what the performance is going to be. It needs to be big, because Canyon's got an angle here, potentially. Duro, it won't be.
Yeah, thought maybe he could get Zeka's flash. That's really the most he should be able to get. And we talked a lot about Hanwha scaling, and I do think that it's absolutely insane. There are, though, when you look at not only the Gen.G comp, which is Yorick, Cassio, and Xayah, all of which are big late-game threats, but both Lucian and Pyke, I think, will actually struggle somewhat when we get to the later stage of the game, where very small missteps will get punished heavily. So maybe Gen.G's read is that, yes, they have insane scaling towards the top side of the map, but to me, scaling really feels only like insanely oppressive when it comes to scaling plus range. And that isn't necessarily there, as Peanut might be looking for something towards bot.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about Canyon kind of just farming it out, whereas Peanut's been very proactive along every lane, essentially. He's been everywhere. He's buying on farm, of course, and he's going to be a bit behind on gold, but he has 2 assists, and he's still going to hit his Heartsteel eventually, so he's not really bothered at the end of the day playing Skarner.
Goes back to Canyon's quote in the trash talk at the beginning of the day. You know, you want to go for ganks, so I'm going to clear your jungle. I'm just going to clear fast. I'm going to take the whole thing. And he has done that in this game. And it's still only 180 gold that he has the advantage over Peanut, who has those 2 assists. You know, you mentioned the range, Chronicler, that is sometimes really one of the biggest elements of scaling. But one of my kind of maybe counterpoints to what Hanwha scaling could look like in this game is the front line that allows you to, even at fairly low range, still find big damage. But it's going to be about positioning. This is where I'm sometimes concerned about Zeko doesn't have an escape on this Victor into the Blitzcrank, or Viper is going to be trying to dash to follow up to maybe a Skarner knock into the wall, who might find himself getting hooked by the Blitzcrank as well.
Yeah, there's also the fact that Gen.G has a ton of setup that actually is really good at taking down frontliners, right? Cassio and Xayah both. even Yorick, I think, actually do a decent job of that. Now, if you'd asked me which comp would I prefer, I'd still go Hanwha, but I do think that mention of some of the Gen.G scaling might be warranted. Because based on how Gen.G is playing, I feel like their read leans more towards that than we need to win early game. We've seen Gen.G actually play really aggressively for early objectives, early skirmishes. Not getting that feeling in this game as second Drake is about to spawn. Do imagine they want to not give Double Dragon over to Hanwha.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a bit of an issue if the Victor and the Ornn and the Skarner are just getting double Drake. And you can see that Gen.G going to be moving in here. The Thunder Sky just picked up for Cannon at about 12 minutes, so really want to utilize this power spike for the side of the Gen.G jungler.
Yeah, this is a Victor with 1 stack of Rod of Ages.
Yeah.
So this is the dragon you probably don't want to force the fight for here as Hanwha Life. Zeus is backing and does have TP.
Yeah.
I just don't think this is going to work out. Peanut looking for something else.
Yeah, Miasma pretty good against Skarner.
Yep.
Gonna immediately shut that down. Doesn't take back from the fact that Zeka's actually doing a pretty good job in this lane, even though he did die that one time kind of awkwardly. He has been able to exert some pressure, at least in the 1v1. Still behind on gold, of course.
Gen.G want more than a dragon. You could just tell. They're not starting it. They're looking for picks. Ult gone for Zeka.
They're really trying to force Chovy out of this lane, but it's not going to work. As Chovy's just healing up a bit, and as you mentioned, yeah, they're just kind of roaming as a death squad.
I'm kind of wondering if they swept that brush or like Scryer orbed it, because they really don't seem to be aware of the ward. They keep trying to go for these bait setups.
I mean, Duro's just going to flash away from the damage just to make sure as the burst comes in. There's the hook on a Peanut. Do they have the damage, though? Yes, they absolutely do. Zeus on the flank gets the double knockup. As the burst comes in, the Arcane Storm is out.
Chovy?
As now Chovy, he wants more. He is desperate for something more, but not going to keep them around for long enough. In goes Canyon, but he's taking a bunch of damage. Flashes on in the Zeka. Down goes Zeus as well. Just chunks the two of them down. As Viper finally going to get the one. Delight also picks up yet another kill. As now looking for Chovy. He's going to get in close and does get the hook down. And they're getting so much more over the back of this fight for HLE.
And Delight ends up picking up 2 kills, but with the cut, he's giving so much gold over so many of the members here to Hanwha Life Esports, and he just played that skirmish so incredibly well. He saved it for Hanwha Life.
Rare mistake from Keen there. I think really overplayed his hand towards the end. That was what started that chain of events. But as we take a look here, really nicely done here. No playmaking potential, no impale there, even with Zeus trying to save his jungler. And it's a trade that's favorable for Gen.G. But really their chase without Blitz isn't that great, right? You see Chovy trying to hard force with the ultimate, but it's when Canyon arrives that it looks like this is just a complete win here for Gen.G. But then Keen and Chovy overextend into Viper for I think no reason. You'd won that play. You got the dragon, you got favorable kills. Instead, Delight gets to start the resets, generate a ton of gold, and it's a gold positive play for Hanwha Life.
And now he's got his Umbro Glaive, which with this composition interacts kind of awkwardly just because they don't have a lot of power just yet with the Rod of Ages, Victor, and Ornn. But it can be a problem if Hanwha Life Esports later on start to get a little bit more map control. He could really start choking out the vision here and give Hanwha Life the opportunity to further scale. As you can see, that's a lot of money on this pike early on.
Yeah, the biggest gold lead by far in the bottom lane. Going to Delight over Duro, even though Delight is down a level. Doesn't matter, that's just the way that pike works. As Heartsteel finished for Peanut, they're going to look at this Rift Herald, and they're bursting it down quite fast with the Lucian. In comes Canyon. And he's certainly curious about this, but yeah, they just can't even get close to it. And Delight actually going to pick up the eye.
A safe call there, I suppose. This is the kind of situation for Hanwha we were talking about before, though. It's like any gold lead you have feels pretty good. Any objective you can take feels good. They got a dragon. Now they have the Herald. And with the Herald, you can, basically guarantee a lot of prio around the map, or even that turret early on into the game. And that just makes you so much safer now through a mid-game where you're a lot more comfortable now than I think you otherwise should be as Hanwha Life.
For Gen.G, the fact that they got the free grubs, I think, is actually a really nice setup, because what we haven't really talked about yet is the potential for a 1-3-1 from Gen.G, because both Cassio and Yorick are insanely strong side laners. You do have the Pantheon as well to cover from a really large distance. My only worry with that is that if Delight is able to just play his game, Pyke can rotate so quickly from lane to lane.
Oh, Ruler. Oh, he doesn't want to use that ult, but he will be forced to at the end of the day. And he could have avoided a decent amount of that damage if he just used it early.
The light's looking.
The light's looking for it. The ult comes in and Ruler's just free. Not looking, doesn't barrier, doesn't flash. Meanwhile,
is he out?
Oh, no way. It's so incredible. Just gets out with the Rift Arrow.
There's no turret.
There's no turret. Delight is just a menace in this game. He's 3-0. He wants a bit more than a redemption. I think is going to stop the play as Delight takes a bunch of damage from the maiden, but
they get a TP out of Chovy into the mid lane as well, and I think this is where Hanwha Life could say, all right, that's enough. We'll take this 100%. Now almost a 3,000 gold lead for this squad here at 18 minutes.
And it's the Delight X Factor as he is able to get that pick onto Ruler, caught shopping, not ready for the pike to hunt him down, and the turret falls in top. They don't get the counter kill, and Ruler here really, as Veldis highlighted, wants to hold onto his ult.
And look at where like Delight is before this even all transpires. Like he was already heading over.
Knows he's not being spotted.
Yeah, there's a control ward there. He has Umbral Glaive. He knows there's just no way Ruler's going to be able to react. I mean, I suppose he could have if he was incredibly fast or not with Tab or Shaw.
You gotta know Pike is looking for that though.
that's the thing you have to keep in mind is that there's a pike on the enemy team. And then even if you're backing under your turret, you're not safe if you're at that low of health. And that's just to expound upon the fact that he didn't ult himself early on to avoid the damage from Viper. I wanted to hold on to everything, and he got punished for that and got low enough that Pike was able to just take him down. We didn't mention that there is a Chemtech Soul on the Rift here, which, you know, you got an Ornn, you got a Skarner here on the side of HLE. Feeling pretty good about that.
Even Cassio and Yorick, I think, aren't too sad about it.
That's a really good. It's a really good angle for the Chemtech Soul.
Oh, might be looking at an actual 5v5 here again. After a lost Drake fight, Delight. Half of second item also done. Ruler does have his cooldowns back available now.
Yeah. I do feel like if Gen.G keep a Phalanx, if they all stay together and keep the Cassio and Xayah together, it's not going to be easy for Pike to get these big boosts. And speaking of which, they're going to get the flash immediately out of Viper. And the cleanse. The culling on top of it all. And Peanut's just trying to get in. He's going to steal it away. And he's Skarner. He just laughs his way to the bank and goes all the way away. As yes, they are going to get this hook here on the Zeus. But it's just the one kill here for Gen.G as they lose the Drake in the trade.
We'll see if Gen.G wants to turn it into more. I think Otacon might be an option here with Zeus going down, and they are not happy with that first play, but that might be Delight's opportunity to shine.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, this was still a huge win for Hanwha in terms of the microcosm of the Dragon, because Peanut, his smites have been phenomenal today.
Oh, trying to catch Chovy here. It's not quite going to work out, as they got to know this Otacon has started.
And with that cooldown gone, I think that's just it. Viper doesn't have flash. They cannot continue any further here to try to take this objective away from Gen.G, so Gen.G will take it. 11-9 Petals will explode into a larger experience lead here, plus the adaptive force that'll come with it. 22-9 now, but I think it's the right call not to force that fight after that does miss from Peanut. But Hanwha Life, the lead was much larger than it is now. As long as they can stem the bleeding here, it's not a disaster, but Gen.G kind of got what they were looking for after this, and this getting both summoners out of Viper also furthers the issues later on.
A bit of miss there from Zeus as well, because if Duro gets caught by that, he's dead, right? But the flash comes through, Duro's fine, Peanut finds a really nice steal, but Zeus, it's so hard to get away from the Blitzcrank, his effective range. What this does highlight, though, is something that I think we're going to keep seeing as well, particularly with the amount of single target damage that Gen.G has. Blitz is going to remain an issue unless Hanwha get to the point where they have full control of the map, right? Which, thus far, haven't seen yet as...
yeah, goodbye.
Down it goes.
50 gold.
Significant win. But not going to be too impactful in the grander scheme of things.
Also, a lot of the gold for Gen.G is on Panther,
yes,
which obviously not really where you want it.
And I think the gold lead that Delight has is relatively more valuable in a lot of ways, but it's a larger gold lead that he's holding, but they also have the Viper angle as a nice Bellows Breath.
Very nicely timed. It didn't look like he had any vision or a thought that that would be there, so he's just got a great reaction time. Maybe knew he was kind of going through the scary visionless jungle.
I mean, this is a Victor that now has Leandries completed. His stacks are done. of the Rod of Ages, even though he doesn't have the Otacon to boot, gets a free turret down there in the bottom side, and Hanwha Esports still relatively chilling as Chovy tries to trade for turrets, but is only able to get half.
Little moment of tension there. Delight on a ward, but always going to be fishing, always going to be looking, and these fights have been so explosive. Really feels like a single hook from either Delight or Duro can be the difference maker. And as I say that,
Very close, gonna dodge everything. Actually, the laser on top of it
The
is now we got a TP. Zeus very far behind enemy lines. They want to turn onto him as the flash, and the hook is going to miss. As Zeus has to flash out of that one, the re-engage comes out from the horn, and the impale over the wall. Canyon straight into the wall himself, but he will not die. Peanut wants the kill, but he's flashing it at 4 people. And this Peanut, not the time or the place, but they actually do get the kill.
what?
Funnily enough, I don't even know how he died.
How can you die?
Oh, we'll have to take a look at the replay as Canyon died to something.
Chovy still going
And a
forward.
burn. And yeah, I mean, the stun comes down on a Chovy. Lots of poke damage coming down from the Victor.
Guys, that's rude. We can't just summon the Maiden
The light's right
and
here.
die immediately.
Yeah, 50 gold this time on a Zeka.
Now, there is no objective up after all of that, after our junglers are down.
Pure chaos.
So just a lot of chaos with the Chaos Storm coming out. And this was a bit of a bridge too far for Zeus. Does end up flashing, and yet Ruler goes face first into 4 people, has to ult and flash, and that was a bit of a step too far.
It's Delight, right? Delight with the flash Q knocks him back over. So the rest of the team of Gen.G does his best to try and collapse onto Zeus, but Zeus is happy to draw the attention, and that's why Ruler gets caught by Delight. He ends up having to use his cooldowns, doesn't go down, but that does mean a lot of damage is out of the fight. At the beginning of it, really what all that means is a lot of sums are now down. Ruler not having his flash is a very big deal. No flash for Keen and Canyon either, but the same is the case for Zeus, for Peanut, and for Delight, and you have to imagine both of these two teams are going to be fighting. Hanwha Life want to get Soul Point, Gen.G want to deny it.
It's just wild to me that Delight's able to find that angle. After having such a great start in this game, maybe I shouldn't be, as he has just really been high impact. Same to be said of Duro, though, in some of these longer extended fights. Just helps chase and secure kills, as we are now grouping for a real objective. It has Swan, Hanwha Life looking for Soul Point here.
River first for Gen.G.
Yeah, Banana Brush control as well, but the Scuttler actually did go over to Hanwha Life Esports, so they have a lot of vision around this Baron, or rather this Dragon.
Turret's going to go down, it looks like, as well.
Yep.
Peanut's there.
Turret's going to go down. Might just come down to a flip, and it goes over to the Saya of all people. 3-man knockup comes in from the Ornn, and that's Yorick down. Keen just out of the play, and HLE say, well, we got the pick. Rotate big time up towards the top side of the map.
Yeah, they want to grab this mid turret, it looks like here, just push this wave in and look for a siege. They can clear this ward super quickly. I just don't think Gen.G can come up to save it. So more than just a kill here onto the Yorick, they will grab that turret as well.
Look at how deep Chovy is pushing. I think he has to be really worried. Ornn's there. He might be in deep trouble. That could be Nash if he dies.
He's so far down the lane. Oh boy. Well, Chovy, you've cooked some great stuff before, but I'm not sure this is it. As you've got a Skarner, you've got a Pike, everything is missing for some reason, as a big ult does hit too. But eventually, you're just going to have too much damage on top of you, as they're going to give the kill over to Zeka as well. And he is nearly 1,000 gold ahead now.
There are a few question mark pings on the Baron, but no one's on it. Obviously, Gen.G can't use Chovy to do Baron there without his damage, as this is another near smite for Peanut, but it's really the triple knockup that helps isolate the Yorick here, so no one else can follow up to protect or peel. They go straight to the mid turret, and then Chovy greeds here inside and is taken out.
And my guess is that Chovy thought that they were all moving towards Nash, so he wanted to threaten an inner turret and then TP towards a play if they do actually go for it, because they don't have that much vision in the jungle. Instead, obviously, gets collapsed on heavily. Hanwha Life had the response ready, very nicely done on their end. Third item is done for Chovy and for Ruler, but Hanwha Life are firmly taking control of this game. And a game 5 might be on the horizon here. And it was Delight's hook that set up that pick onto Keen as well.
Yeah, it just makes it 100% certain that they were going to get that Yorick, who, as frontliners go, Yorick not exactly the best. They don't have much outside of maybe the Pantheon, but they were just kind of all lining up trying to take that Drake, and they got punished big time for it. HLE, 3,000 gold to lead at this point in time.
Zeka doesn't even have his ornament yet. You know, this is the composition that's going to get stronger and stronger as this game continues to progress. He's level 16. Again, despite the Otacon going over to Gen.G, Hanwha Life just going toe-to-toe in terms of experience, and this next fight is likely over the Baron. And Ruler does have his flashback up. This is a huge tool that he will likely need, especially with how these hooks have been going here for Delight. And speaking of,
thanks to, I think it was Ruler that actually ended up securing the Dragon in the last fight.
Oh, the feather pull.
It is a guaranteed soul denial otherwise, or soul point rather, otherwise Hanwha Life would have had that. Keen is in the side lane, pushing to his heart's content. Hanwha gonna be looking to try and pick someone off. Canyon needs to be very careful here. Even with his E, he's an easy target to collapse upon.
You can see all the vision denial with this Pike. It's just so oppressive. They're still going to try to get Keen in a side lane and get this pressure going and hope that, you know, he can pull Zeus away, but Zeus is doing a pretty good job of just clearing the waves and not really interacting too much with Yorick, mostly just with the Maiden. To the chagrin of Yorick, of course.
Hanwha Life, they don't have to force the Baron. They have so much vision around it that it's basically there's no way Gen.G could sneak it out underneath them, and they just continue to sit back and farm out some of these additional items. The arm guard for Zeka, and we turn into Vizonia soon, but he has that safety now. This is just the full composition here for a Hanwha Life nearly online. Once Zeus hits level 16, it is just going to be nigh impossible. And that's where the Blitzcrank insurance policy comes through, right? Maybe Duro makes a miracle happen in this game.
There's also Pike, who just becomes harder to play as the game progresses, right? You are going to get one-tapped by basically anything that hits you. That's where the Edge of Night has come through for Delight. That is a big spike for him, and with the way he's been playing thus far, I think the trust that his team has clearly given him is warranted. Really, the only scary thing for Hanwha Life is if you do start up the Nash, that could be where Gen.G can just fish for a pull, right? Everyone grouped up around that objective. We have Soul Point fight. It's possibly there, but neither team really wants to commit too heavily to that, because if you commit to that, guess what? Other team might get Baron.
Every time this mid wave gets cleared, look at the top wave. Gen.G don't know what's going on around the Nash pit, right? So they have to be very careful. They're constantly grouped up here, and Hanwha Life are just sitting on that prio so incredibly well. And I mean, even now, Zeka has been able to rotate over here, getting closer and closer to level 16 for Zeus, just spending as much time as he can, grabbing that final bit of experience. And this is a really tense moment here for Gen.G. They had so much control in this series. They were up 2-0.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, you're feeling really bad at Gen.G if you do lose it, but now they're just going to send it into the Baron. And the second the Dragon spawns, we'll see if this works out for them, as they're kind of lined up in the bowling alley, as two of them get knocked up by the Ornn. They pull off of the Baron, and now Keen is zoned away from the rest of the team. H-League staying together as a 5-man unit. As we do see a bit
Chovy's
of a
behind
flank
them
coming in from Chovy, but that's a Cassiopeia flank. Not the most dangerous thing I've ever seen, but now trying to get the engage going onto this front line. Zeus is going to be burnt down. There's nobody's there. They were staying together, and then they split up as they were following Keen. Hook goes down onto Keen, and now Peanut's in a really rough spot. He's going to be taken down, and the amount of damage Gen.G is being they're just not paying attention to it at all.
It's one by one, as we said earlier. The hook from Duro is the difference again, as Chovy finds the flank, sets up the miasma, and they have enough damage. That's going to be Nash.
Hanwha Life just have to take this concession of getting Soul Point in exchange. There's no way they can fight this anymore. They don't have a jungler. And the chase, the over-chase onto Keen there is part of the undoing, but it's really the Duro grab that changes things here for Gen.G, and they set it all up. They were the ones who started the Baron looking for a turn, and Hanwha Life just did not have the cleanest chase down there. They didn't have the cleanest denial of that Baron, and now with Baron, Keen's going to take out this inner turret. The game is suddenly turned on its head in just a matter of seconds.
I mean, it's anybody's game from here, but you gotta like Gen.G's chances after this play where they're just able to isolate the front target. Any target they can burst through, they have the damage.
He's like, okay, I knock him up, I pull him in. He's split in half, and then now Keen's like, I'm baiting them in as well, and the rest of the team is cut off.
It just starts with Canyon, the most skillful Pamphid. Flash W. They get Zeus, the miasma follow-up is there, then is the hook. And even if you're the tankiest member on Hanwha Life, as we see there, that was, by the way, before LDR was done. Chovy is also about to finish his next item. And Hanwha Life, the team fighting power is still there. There is still a fat Pyke. They just need to be so careful, because if anyone gets singled out, they're in trouble. But I think they still have the 5v5 power if they can find the front to back, instead of getting picked off one by one.
Zeus running straight into them. Nice culling to do some damage, and that's a hook on a Canyon, but that is the Pantheon, and Zeus who has to flash away, but Canyon goes down! At the end of the day, this Pyke is about to get some big value. Looking for Euro, that's a second one on the board! Delight, he is here to party. He says, this game is mine, and I want to carry it. Zeus going in, maybe trying to take that away from Delight. Gotta be careful. This Delight still on the chase here. He's gonna find Keen on the backside, not gonna land that hook, and just disengages out of there, but still so much money given back over to HLE.
And it takes away from the Red Bull Baron power play. That's a lot of tempo gone. They hold on to their mid lane turret at Hanwha Life, swing back, get back control of the gold lead as well, as this game 4 clearly not done yet.
And they overextend because they want to get the most value out of this Baron possible, because even though they secure the Baron, as we've talked about the wave clear, the insane team fighting power is there, and so they want to try to make something more of this. They see, okay, maybe Viper overextends, but they engage onto the Ornn, and that's so problematic here. Not the right call from Canyon. There's not enough follow-up. Chovy's not really in range, and like, even if you have everyone here, like Zeus is just so tanky, the turn is insane, because this Lucian is fully online. The mid Victor is fully online, and you just cannot be making overextensions like that. That takes all the wind out of Gen.G's sails. And one of their, I mean, look at Ruler's face on the player cam. Like, they know this was really their one chance to maybe just close this finals out now, and it falls completely flat.
Was the follow-up from Zeka there as well, having the W ready, making sure that Canyon couldn't just walk his way out of there. But it's also understandable for Gen.G, because outside of Duro fishing for hooks, it's either him or Canyon needs to find someone. That's the way their comp works. They need to pick them off one by one. Barring overextensions from Hanwha Life, which I think we shouldn't be expecting with how they've been team fighting, into a Casio ult, there really isn't that much CC available, right? We're talking about the feather pool, which requires a lot of setup. We're talking about the cage, which isn't that great. So I understand why Gen.G wanted to push it, but Hanwha Life with a great response. Mid lane turret still standing 35 minutes in.
Take a look at the itemization from the front line here of HLE as well. Just Randuin's picked up for Peanut and Thornmail for Zeus. And you think about the Xayah just getting poked out by Lucian, Culling, and also the Victor. We haven't seen Ruler. You know, he's doing some damage to the front line when they're charging into them, but that's not going to win you the game.
You got to be able to kill the carry somehow.
Yeah.
Killing the Ornn and the Skarner just takes too long, but they can't get access. It's similar to the Smolder situation, as Light's going to fish here, but won't be successful. But when you look at the Victor's itemization as well, and you're like, okay, he's got a decent amount of damage here, but also his safety is immense. He has the Zonius, he has the Rod of Ages, he's so difficult to take out. It's going to take some time there. He's level 18, has that extra ornament as well.
Oh, get the Edge of Night. What is big for Hanwha Life is that they have soul points. So they have a lot more pressure in this upcoming objective. They can force Gen.G to make a move, and Gen.G really want to set up to an objective first. If they can do so, as the flash.
Yeah, the pixel flash there just to get away from the hook. It's going to work. He doesn't get over the wall, but it's not really what he cares about. Meanwhile, on the side lane, Zeus having some trouble with this. Yora Keen seems to be online himself with 3 items. And he is chunking through this Ornn, so
that cleaver,
they're going to have to deal with him somehow. It's not going to be Zeus alone.
And that gets Pryo, and this is going to force a response.
Yeah, Hanwha's on a timer. They have to be quick. They have to be quick.
Okay, that's a lot of damage into Ruler, but the culling goes into Duro. That's not the target you were looking for.
King's gonna keep going. He's not gonna stop.
Hanwha need to be fast on how they win this fight.
Yeah, it should just be inhibitor, you would imagine. Down it goes as we'll see what happens with the TPs, but now we're just going to have a 4v4 team fight at this point, and it comes down to the Xayah as Ruler steals it away. I mean, they were the one who started it, but yeah, no steal away from Peanut.
And Keen just gets away with this. Even if he dies here, his job is done. He avoids the second activation.
Oh, there's 5-man coming.
TP coming in. They have to,
no way.
Oh, they stopped the channel with the ult from the Victor, and this is right before the Baron. As he's trying to turn this one around on a Zeka. I don't think so, buddy. Flashes for that one. And now he's down for a minute with Baron up in 12 seconds.
It feels to me like Gen.G should have pushed further there. They needed to apply pressure so that not everyone on Hanwha could just run towards that top lane. And now Hanwha Life, they only lost the Dragon, and they might get a Baron as return.
And this is such an easy turn here for Hanwha Life. They have the Impale. Duro just fishing for a hook. He wants to get one of these carries. He so desperately needs to.
He really does, but I don't know if he's going to have an option. The culling is just used to zone. Delights in stealth as well. Duro looking for some kind of hook. They want to access that backline, but the peel is insane. Canyon getting on in, goes into his G, and then bull hook Zeka though. As maybe that's enough. But it's coming down to a flame. It goes to again! But Ruler will not be denied these objectives. And he's full health.
He just keeps getting them. But he might have just saved the game. He's able to secure the Baron. Zay is desperately on the chase here with Viper following up and Delight. Not enough.
Instead, he's just desperately giving kills over to Ruler. He says Ruler hasn't had enough. Let's give him some more.
They have to look for something. They know that this Baron might be with the top lane push, with the death timers. Could be the difference maker. Gen.G somehow pull out the win out of the 4v5.
Yeah, I mean, Ruler is just pulling these objectives out of thin air. And Ruler, level 18, is going to be ripping this turret off the map. That top inhibitor is already down here. I don't think they'll be able to push for the mid one right now, but they can take out all of those inner turrets. It's a big injection of gold. Less important right now at nearly 40 minutes in.
Keen. Pike's on his way.
They want to try to isolate the York once again, but the disengage code gets him to safety. And yeah, not much you can do about that. Would have been nice to pick him up. There's no big objective, but maybe you take some power out of the Baron push.
And it's the play from Ruler here on top of, like, Canyon sacrifices, but the grab onto Zeka is massive because that's a lot of damage gone here. And then when Ruler's able to secure the Baron with this ult from Chovy as well to deny any sort of follow-up, now, even though Delight gets one reset, they just cannot teamfight without Zeka.
It's Duro, flash, rocket punch. That's what sets up the play. That's what takes out one of the carries. And I can't believe we haven't mentioned it yet, but it's a 2-carry composition. Victor cannot be dying at the start of that fight, especially with flash up.
That's just not allowed, but he's just caught off guard. And luckily, he is Victor. He was able to push out some of that top lane. He has a ton of weight there to help defend this Baron. There's only a minute left. A minute left here on this Baron, and Gen.G wanted more.
Just such a close game throughout all of it.
It's not even game over. The Baron is the best part.
They don't even have Elder spawning yet.
Yeah, we got a minute on this Rebel Baron power play, but you can see that Gen.G aren't exactly confident. Okay, that is very nice Bell's Breath, just in case. I think it was barely out of range, but still going to be denied. You see that Gen.G, they don't really have enough pressure just yet with this Rebel Baron power play, especially because Keen doesn't have Baron himself. And so you're kind of just pushing, you're getting the gold lead back, but we're 40 minutes into the game, so you're not.
Yeah, the gold lead matters
the game. Yeah.
way less, and I think Gen.G are happy with what the end result of the play and the grab on the Zeka was, but I don't think they're happy with what they got here. They're still in a position where they have a lot of map control, a lot of vision was gained from this, but they, I think, wanted really to get a pick from this with Duro and then end the game, because the scaling elements are still online here for Hanwha Life, and it feels like maybe it's any rocket grab that could end this game, right? It's any pike hook or potentially a flanking Skarner. But in terms of just straight up raw 5v5 power with these ornaments here, I don't think it gets much better than what Hanwha Life Esports have. You've got to avoid those hooks if you're Zeka, if you're Viper. They both have flash. 30 seconds until finally a soul will be decided here in this game.
You're playing Pyke without map control though, and that is the biggest difference. Even though Gen.G weren't able to end the game off of this, top lane inhib is still down, right? Will be coming up soon as Keen takes a ton of damage.
There's a lot of poke going back and forth, but now we finally get an Impale engage. But Canyon, his Pantheon, lives for so long, and the damage from the Xayah and the Casio is way too much for the Ornn to deal with.
They gotta get out of
it! Last follow-up from Chovy is gigantic, goes Golden, and the hook comes through! And that should be it, Gen.G! With one fell swoop, might have just won this game.
10,000 damage for Ruler! 10,600! He had the smite button in this game, and his damage is off the charts. Who says the Victor scales? This Xayah is the biggest on the Rift.
Feel like the Blitzcrank is scaling better than the Victor in this one. As Viper, he's desperate. He's trying to clear the waves, but he's not gonna have it. Gen.G get the revenge for last summer, and they are your 2025 LCK Finals champion.
And Ruler leaves for the LPL, has an incredible first year on JDG, the second year not what he wanted, comes back and makes clear why Gen.G brought him back with an absolutely exceptional performance in this final game.
Every single member for Gen.G had a big part to play in this title win. Duro's first ever LCK title in his first appearance. He's picked up the win in an international tournament already and now comes in as one of the best support players here out of Korea to go to Worlds. Ruler's performance, Chovy's performance. This team was world-class all year long, was stopped short from going to first stand by Hanwha Life Esports, was stopped in summer last year by Hanwha Life Esports, but revenge is sweet for the Tigers this evening as they take the 3-1 victory. And Duro, listen, LCK Trophy, maybe not getting the justice for supports in POM, but right here he gets justice for Duro on the final stage.
And it is telling that his team is like, yeah, sure you can blitzcrank.
Yeah.
This guy was the weak spot at the beginning of the year. He wasn't able to perform the way that he did, but as Ruler said, he is not the same player he was back then. And Chovy, compared to the first couple of playoff games, he was not losing in this one.
They were on a mission to get revenge tonight. That was very obvious. And you can see how sweet it is on that stage. Every player individually lifts the LCK trophy.